You just got weaseled. We are building a weasel army, all right?
Here is anti-racist ADLCO laments rising intermarriage rates among Jews.
Is it your sense that Jewish people are getting complacent, that they're not engaging to degrees and levels we should be?
I have met a lot of October 8th Jews for whom the massacre on October 7th was a wake-up call. I've met a lot of people who feel much more galvanized, much more organized. But that will only be sustained if we offer them, ways to participate in a real and robust way in Jewish life.
Wait, sorry.
Is that, in essence?
All of ours. Yeah. But this is why we need a revolution in our community on so many levels. So look, the reality is that intermarriage rates continue to go up. Assimilation continues apace.
This Nazi shit. What do you mean? It's just like, bro, this is what fucking white supremacists say, man. This is shit that white supremacists say. Okay? How ironic that after a fucking century of Jews are doing the great replacement to taint the pure white race, now you got a Jewish dude literally saying that about Jews. What he's describing here is quite literally what neo-Nazis say about race mixing, about miscegenation. That is literally what he is saying. Why is that appropriate? The real issue here is that many young American Jews hear that and they go, what the fuck? I don't give a shit. I'm going to marry whoever the fuck I want. What are you talking about?
Also, implying somebody's less Jewish because, say, their father was not Jewish, right? That's, which is kind of against the whole, traditional, sense of what makes you Jewish, right?
That's what he's worried about. That's what many Zionists are worried about. It's crazy to me.
Wow, he's doing blood quantum, chat. It's Jonathan Greenblatt. I'm trying to figure out. He's defending Greenblatt here. What the fuck is up with this lady? Do you really want to pretend like Jewish parents are the only ones that care if their children marry? And, oh my god. Okay, so So Anna Kasparian. This person, Chris Menahan, quote tweet, or to put the Jonathan Greenblatt. This is Jonathan Greenblatt talking to somebody else here. ADLCO Jonathan Greenblatt laments that interracial intermarriage rates are continuing to rise among Jews. Turns out his anti-racist shtick only goes so far. Yeah, turns out that he's actually kind of racist. Yeah. Surprise, surprise. And then Anna Kasparian comes in with the arbiter of anti-Semitism is worried, that's Jonathan Greenblatt, is worried about Jewish people marrying non-Jews. You can be 100% in faith of faith and interracial marriages, but if you criticize Israel's genocide against the Palestinian people, you deserve to have your life ruined. He, on the other hand, can look down his nose at Jews who marry for love, regardless of religion or religious or racial identity. Ethan Klein responds to Anna with this: what the fuck is with this lady? Do you really want to pretend like Jewish parents are the only ones that care if their children marry within their culture? Jews are no different in this regard to every culture. Why the fuck do you extrapolate that into Jews looking down on non-Jews? It's obsessive. What? That's not what she's saying. She's talking about not Jews, but let's be honest. It's an argument against racism. This is not an argument against Jews, right? Yeah. If you look down at if you look at somebody who's marrying, a non-Jew as being less Jewish for that, then anyway, why the fuck do you extrapolate into Jews looking down on non-Jews? I don't get that. I don't think that's what Anna's saying here. She's not doing that. She's not doing like the You know, I mean, you will sometimes see like anti-Semites, talk, or kind of meme about the goyim, right? With the underlying idea being that Jewish people look at non-Jews as lesser, right? Thereby justifying their anti-Semitism by characterizing, Jewish people as being ethnic supremacists, right? But that's not what Anna's doing here. It's not at all what Anna's doing here. It's obsessively racist. The best way to explain the rise in interracial marriage is that Jewish families are increasingly accepting of such relationships. My brother and sister both married non-Jews. That's right, Trisha. It's really no wonder Hassan is the way he is, because he is surrounded such bigots. So this is what I mean about he's going after Hassan's family now, right? Such bigots as Jink and Anna. I mean, obviously Anna's not family, but she's Jink's partner in crime, and Jink is his uncle. I can't imagine what his parents think. Actually, I can, considering his dad founded the political party in Turkey that negotiated the release of Sinwar. Anna, you sit there every day profiting off the genocide of your Armenian ancestors. You couldn't even muster the courage to ask for a name change, to change TYT into something else. Kiss the ring of your Ottoman oppressors. Oh my God. What is that tax that you pay if you're living in Ottoman territory and you're not Muslim? Like, I don't know. This is devolving. God damn.
I got into a war with Anna Kasparian, who's the co-host of the Young Turks. Cenk, Hassan's great benefactor uncle who gave him his career. Actually, it's just kind of boring. I don't feel like reading this. It's on the subreddit if you care about it. But I toasted her. She's an obnoxious fucking loser.
I toasted her?
She just like went MAGA brained, and now she's doing.
Okay, no, that's true. She did go MAGA brained. I mean, those are her friends now, right? She's doing everything she can to like throw all the bones to MAGA. So, like, does he? He knows something about her recent history, but
all kinds of crazy, like, Zog, anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. She's really lost her mind.
Okay, so
and it's quite
again, if you want to show, as Ethan is trying to, that she is some kind of a, that she's doing dog whistles or something like that, right? You got to show, like, he's like, oh, I don't want to read this stuff, it's too boring. I'm thinking that he's just not including that because it's not convincing, right? Like, because again, she is embracing, I think, some language that probably does speak to some people on the anti-Semitic side of things. I think she's doing anything and everything she can to like expand her audience. But he's so sloppy here, right, chat? And he's so used to his audience just taking his word for it. And you're going to see it even worse with what he tries to. If you think he's doing Anna Kasparian dirty here, which on some level he kind of is, right? Just wait until we see what he's trying to do. There's a new Hassan sound drop, right? That is just super disingenuously employed. And again, it's the kind of thing that if you live in H3 world and you only see all this content through Ethan's channel, you would be none the wiser. You would be none the wiser as far as where Hassan actually stands on Trump. Anyway, more. We'll get to that, as they say.
Quite pathetic. She said, "I'm low IQ, guys."
I'm not too familiar with her. Isn't she a Hassan hater?
She hates.
Yeah, we got to start a GoFundMe preemptively. Oh wait, we already did. Throne.com/NoCommentChick. That is the GoFundMe.
Hassan, but who doesn't?
Oh, I thought you guys could have bonded over that.
Well, I thought so until I saw her being like, Israel occupies the American government, which is like American neo-Nazi classic talking point that she's adopted. And I've also seen posts, lots of pictures. She's picked up a new audience on Twitter who you'll notice in her replies that she's...
Let me just read it to see if I can. We got to figure out what exactly he's talking about, because there's actually a few there's a number of Instagram posts from Ethan, and then there's another number of Anna Kasparian tweets, right? Where I think that's what. Let me just read this really quick. What the fuck is up with what the fuck is with this lady? Do you really pretend? Okay, we already read this one. This is her saying that there's nothing wrong with what Jonathan Greenblatt said about intermarriage of Jewish people doing intermarriage and how he thinks that's bad, right? But yeah, this isn't it. Again, he's making these claims, right, without any supporting evidence, and it's so shit, it's so garbage that his fucking audience, like, chat, I swear to God, I don't think even Destiny's audience would let him get away with some shit like this. The fact that Ethan Klein, I mean, this is Trumpian. This is straight up Trumpian, right? This is the kind of shit that Trump gets away with. Trump will just sit there and straight up fucking lie, and these fucking hogs, they just eat it up. They just shovel it into their fucking mouth. Now we're seeing Ethan do the same thing. He's turned his fucking audience, chat. Oh my God, chat, it is berserk. He's turned his audience into, he's sacrificed his audience. He's put the brand of sacrifice on all. Oh my God, chat. Is he wearing a bailet under there? Oh my God, chat. No, what is fucking going on with Ethan? Like, right, he's turned his audience into absolute hogs here. Like, and they're just eating up the slop.
I thought so until I saw her being like, Israel occupies the American government, which is like American neo-Nazi classic talking point that she's adopted. And I've also seen posts, lots of pictures. She's picked up a new audience on Twitter who you'll notice in her replies. Nazis. They're there.
I hate to say it, chat, but he's actually right. There are Nazis in her replies. There are all kinds of weird far-right weirdos in her replies. Let's see. I want to find this tweet that he's talking about because he's not showing it on. He says that he's bored of it or something, or he doesn't want to read it. I think it's that he recognizes on some level that it's not convincing. We need to find the Anna Kasparian tweet that contains like the language of occupation. Does he bring it up? Maybe he does. It looks like he brings it up later.
With AIPAC, talk about lobbying. Qatar spends a lot more money lobbying in America than AIPAC does, which, by the way, AIPAC is an American lobbying group of Jewish Americans. Mm-hmm. It's not an Israeli group. It doesn't have Israeli money. It's not even affiliated with Israel directly. It's Americans who support Israel. Now, Qatar spends significantly more money lobbying in America and in universities.
Okay, so here's the tweet. Our country is occupied and controlled by Israelis. Okay. This is our fight. See, look. Our country is occupied and controlled by Israelis. That... If you said Zionists instead of Israelis, right? I still wouldn't use this word right here, right? And for a specific reason, because there is a meme in the right wing, in the extreme right, in the anti-Semitic right of the they will call the United States government or they will refer to it as the Zog, right? Zionist occupied government or whatever, right? So whether she realizes it or not, and chat, there's every chance that she's just hanging out with her new friends and they're using this language and she's picked it up and she's, right? I don't know if it's Anna Kasparian consciously trying to call to mind, sort of the Zog trope, or whether it's just she's picked this up from her new right-wing friends. Controlled by the Israelis. Yeah, it doesn't, like, that's the whole point. What she's missing is it doesn't need to be controlled by the Israelis, right? There are a ton of Zionists in the United States, and I'm not talking about Jewish Americans. I'm talking about Christian Americans. The vast majority of American Zionists are Christian, and they do control the government. American evangelical Zionists, right, control our government, right? Trump's, his base, his administration, right? There's almost like a litmus test, right? There are people on the right that are critical of Israel, some of them for the right reasons, some of them for not so good reasons, but they are a little bit on the outside of the current regime. Like the inside of the current regime is, very pro-Israel because they're of their Christian Zionism, not because they care about Jewish people or anything like that, or even care about Israel. It's because to fill an end time prophecy that a lot of evangelical Christian Zionists will say that for Jesus to return, Israel must occupy the Judea and Samaria, right? The land that was occupied in the Bible, the land that was spoken, not even just the land that was the land that was spoken of in the Bible, right, has to be fully occupied by Israel in order to bring about the return of Jesus, the second coming, right? So yeah, but to say it's controlled by Israelis is just not true. This is our fight. They're using our money and our bombs to slaughter innocent people and to steal land, true. And then our media tells us that the Muslim world hates us for our freedom, true, and believes people that... And people believe that slop as they lose public services, so in other words, like the big beautiful bill, as you lose public services because their resources are being sent abroad. Okay, so the United States is funding Israel at the same time as it's cutting services to healthcare and food assistance, for example, and the part of the... What is she trying to say here? Our media tells us that Muslim world hates our freedom. People believe that the Muslim world hates our freedom as they lose public services because their resources are being sent up. Yeah, because they can see that their resources that need are being cut, and their wait, what? How does that make people believe the Muslim world hates our freedoms? Anyway, I don't think Anna's making a lot of sense right here. Yeah, like, so it's a mixture of shit that's just wrong, and a a crucial at best misunderstanding, at worst her appealing to right wingers who believe in the idea of the whole Zog trope. The jig is up. You either love America or the country occupying it. Yeah, see, I mean, it's just wrong to see what's happening in the United States as an occupation of the government by the state of Israel misses the fact that it's not just Israel using the United States, which it is. It's also the United States using Israel, and it is the like, again, I've gone over the clip a million times. Joe Biden saying if Israel did not exist, we would have to invent it. Israel serves a purpose as an outpost of settler colonialism and the United States global hegemony on in the Middle East, right? But if you're looking at this as a one-way relationship of the fucking Israel like mind controlling the American government, they don't need to do that. They don't need to do that. They've got willing accomplices in the terms of like the, kind of evangelical Christian Zionists that I described earlier. And in the case of, kind of cold warriors like Joseph Biden.
To support Israel. Now, Qatar spends significantly more money lobbying in America and in universities. But like somehow it's only the Jews. It's only AIPAC that gets called out for being a problem. It's it's AIPAC that's occupying. It's not just it's not no longer money in politics is influencing or politicians are being bought, this and that. It's now you're being occupied by the Zionists. Despite other countries spending more money lobbying. Anna, you are a fucking racist, bigoted pig who sits there and kisses the ring of your oppressor. How does that feel to be so worthless? Hated by your own people. I'm telling you, the Armenians fucking despise her that have wrote me. They think the worst.
Anyway, let's see if we can find this tweet. Anna Kasparian, our country is occupied. And like I said, chat, I don't damn people or I don't disavow people based on them, using less than perfect rhetoric in their, advocacy for freeing Palestine, right? I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to, gatekeep, the movement, by virtue of like, imperfect, rhetoric or even rhetoric that might play into the hands of the pro-genocide side of things. But with Anna Kasparian, I think she's missing something really crucially here. And she's either got these ideas into her head because of who she's hanging out with, because she's hanging out with so many right-wing people, or because she is, or because she's playing to that audience. And he's right when he says that. Wait, did she take that down? Anna Kasparian? Oh my God, what? Sorry, I'm like...
I don't feel like reading this. Theories. She said I'm low IQ, guys. Boring. I don't feel like reading this. It's on the subreddit if you care about it.
I'm sorry. There we go. Our country is occupied. Okay, Anna Kasparian, our country is occupied. All right, she says our country is occupied and controlled by Israelis. This is our fight. She's responding to somebody saying this is not our fight, not Israel nor Palestine. So this is a true anti-interventionalist, right? That's somebody that's just like, maybe would have been even against American intervention in World War II, for instance, right? You could say that a lot of people were saying this exact thing, right? This is not our fight. like let Germany and Britain fight this out. It's nothing to do with America, especially after World War One, where a lot of Americans. Oh God, that's somebody I block. Hummingbirder, DVE, Patriot, retired Freedom of Information Act officer. First Amendment, Second Amendment, Ohioan living in Florida. Go Buckeyes! I want Congress to pass the budget NLT September 30th. I don't know what that means every year. But yeah, she's responding to this person with our country is occupied and controlled by the Israelis, right? This is our fight. They're using our money and our bombs to slaughter innocent people and steal land. And then, yeah, just like completely missing the point that the money is going to Israel to slaughter innocent people and to steal land, not because of like some kind of hypnotism that Israel has been able to enact on American politicians, but because these fucking scumbag American politicians have an interest in seeing innocent people slaughtered and their land stolen for geopolitical purposes. This isn't like the United States of America being used for Israel's agenda. This is well, I mean, it is, but it's also Israel being used to fulfill, an American hegemonic agenda. And if you miss that, you're not really fighting the fight. You're not really fighting the same struggle, and you become like vulnerable to your argument becomes vulnerable to being co-opted at the very least, even if she doesn't realize what she's doing here, which I think there's a good case that maybe she does, right? She is chasing after a right-wing audience, and a great way to get them to follow you, to think that you're one of them, is to use their language. So whether she's used their language because she's been amongst them and she's just kind of picked it up that, this is, she's heard other people say this shit and she's copying it, or whether she is actively trying to bring in people that are anti-Israel for all the wrong reasons into, her following. Because remember, TYT is struggling. TYT is, there's a real question of whether Anna Kasparian will be able to develop a new audience before, like, the money runs out, before the Katzenbergs and the donors, the corporate donors of TYT, like, lose faith in them being a viable. There's plenty of right-wing places for these people to give their money, right? If TYT doesn't not show return on investment, they're going to lose out on some of this funding, right? So she is very much struggling to maintain that audience. And to supplant the audience that she's losing with a new audience. So yeah, I can't tell, which way it is, whether Anna's doing a dog whistle purposefully or whether she's just internalized this right-wing logic, the right-wing anti-Israeli logic. Tells our media tells us the Muslim world hates us for our freedoms, and people believe that slop and they lose public services. I'm still trying to understand this. U.S. uses Israel as a land-based aircraft carrier. Yeah. She's doing a Candace Owens, I fear, in the way that Candace Owens uses Palestine kind of as a, goddamn, I got to take this copyright blocker off. Adam Sosnick from PBD could convince her if he says that Palestinians are just like homeless trans people. I mean, there are trans people in Palestine. There are queer people in Palestine, and when Israel bombs Palestine, they kill LGBT people too. Got to be more complicated than we control them. We aren't shooting down drones or missiles in Ukraine. She wants to appeal to both sides with the occupation here so desperately. Anna's definitely pandering. Yeah, I agree. Like for us to have a occupied government, right? A government occupied by a foreign country, then the case would be that the politicians want to call the shit out, want to do the right thing, but they can't because of the, overwhelming Israeli influence. And I really don't think it's like that. I think that their interests are aligned. The politicians that have got elected, yeah, in some on some level, it's like a loop. Like there's a self reinforcing nature of politicians, American politicians that have the global hegemonic desires at their heart, and lobbyists that want more money to go for Israeli projects of killing innocent people and taking the Greater Israel Project. Essentially, Zionism, colonialist, supremacist, is a prominent ideology amongst politicians. Support for Israel is bipartisan, but Zog goes too far. Now, to be fair to Anna, all right, she didn't say Zog. Ethan is putting those words in her mouth. Ethan is being disingenuous here, but Anna has either picked up, so Anna knows that if she says Zog, right, she's fucking cooked, right? All of her left-wing fans, right, and especially any Jewish fans of TYT would probably fucking leave, right? And but if she says occupied, it's just the right amount of plausible deniability that she has to say that she's not doing the Zog thing. But to those people that believe in the Zog idea, they're hearing their ideas propagated in her. She can get more specific with this critique, like mentioning AIPAC, for example. I think they do talk about AIPAC. Yeah, the U.S. controls Israel too. Exactly. And anytime the United States wants Israel to actually stop, right? You saw this under Reagan, you saw this under Obama, right? They're able to affect that. And now when you see Biden or Trump, telling Israel to stop and Israel not doing it, that there's kind of like an implicit, and we know this about Biden, right? People have come out and said, yeah, Biden was letting Israel get away with it, right? I'm sure the same information will come out about Trump as well. She says Israelis occupy our country and control our country. Yeah. Your whole house smells like farts from roasting broccoli. Roasted broccoli, though, it's one of the best ways to cook it. I see why Ethan's so grumpy now. Oh my God. I used to piss off my roommates by cooking, Brussels sprouts. I would roast Brussels sprouts. And that's definitely the best way to cook Brussels sprouts. But oh my God, it does make the house smell like farts. So, but anyway, this is the tweet that Ethan was talking about. And now he said that there, you could see, oh wait, no, quite a bold statement considering the BB doesn't lift a finger without first debriefing Trump, seeking his guidance and getting his approval. And when Trump says stop, BB says how soon? You've got it all backwards. I doubt the most powerful man on earth appreciates being painted as a puppet of a small Middle Eastern country surrounded by war zones. Hey, Igor, Israelis killed 6 Americans in the West Bank since the start. This is true. Since the start of this genocide with impunity. Trump even lifted the weak sanctions that Biden imposed on one of them, and he went on to shoot another American to death. Wake the fuck up. I don't know, though. There's something a little off about Igor's tweet here. It's a small bean Israel is what I'm getting from Igor. It's not quite like that. Like, Israel is not a small bean. But seeing the relationship as Israel controlling, the tail wagging the dog is just not correct in this case. So far, I'm not seeing a lot of what Ethan was talking about in terms of the Nazis and Anna's replies. I have seen them before. They definitely are there. A little less than an user. Wait, no, this is definitely, yeah, no, there we go. That's what, yeah, I mean, see, so there are, yeah, she is playing to the anti-Semitic crowd as well. She is getting a more pushback actually than I expected, because like a lot of people on Twitter, like this is just bait too, right? She's still getting some pushback here.
And they're supporting
on
her.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Nazi,
Yeah.
please.
Nazi, please.
And also, this needs to be talked about more, but the Young Turks, the name of the news organization that was chosen by Cenk, is the name of the imperial, the political party that is directly responsible for the Armenian genocide. The Young Turks is the name of the group of people that had hundreds of thousands of Armenians do death marches into the desert. Mass murdered not just Armenians, but Assyrians and Greek people as well. These guys were fascist mass murderers. And Cenk, a Turkish man who knows the history, right? And his family is involved in all this shit. You know, Hassan's dad created the political party in Turkey that negotiated the release of Sinwar.
Yeah, my mind was blown when I heard
The
that.
weird political ties of his family.
Okay, so now his description of the Young Turks, right? Like, I mean, these are not, you know, good guys by any means, but I feel like he's drawn a little too direct of a connection between the Young Turks movement in Turkey, the origin of the term. So if for anybody who doesn't know, Young Turks is kind of a boomer phrase. It's kind of a 20th century phrase describing somebody that's an upstart, right? Like the French term would be enfant terrible, right? The terrible infants, the terrible children, right? Meaning like, you know, like an upstart, right? Somebody that is young and they're maybe a little bit perceived as being arrogant, and you know, have kind of supplanted, you know, the whatever whatever the older version of them is, right? So it means that's why the Young Turks was chosen as a moniker for Cenk's radio show at first, and then eventually podcast, and then becoming like a YouTube channel, right? So that's what was intended, right? That's what the that and the fact that Cenk is Turkish, right, are why they called their show the Young Turks. It was not a reference to, and most people who say Young Turks, including like people mentioned, Rod Stewart has a song called that. They are not implying, they're not referring to the like historical movement in the late Ottoman Empire. But even what he's saying about the Young Turks, the actual historical Young Turks, is not quite right. Right, there's a few, I guess, degrees of separation, I think, between the Young Turks movement and the Armenian genocide.
Are deep and direct, and people don't talk about it. He named, that would be like if I named my show The Young Nazi. The Young Nazi. Well, actually, so I'm talking specifically to Anna because she's Armenian. And I've gotten lots of emails from Armenian fans. I've seen lots of posts when I first mentioned this, and they're like, thank you so much. People don't talk about it. How much of a a pathetic sap she is, to sit there next to Cenk, who's like a Turkish supremacist, who named his new news organization after the people that genocided her fucking family. How do you sit there, Anna, and smile in the face of your oppressor and kiss the ring of the man, of the people? You don't even have the balls to ask for a name change? You guys couldn't think of something else that didn't evoke the memory of the fucking genocide of your family, Anna? Cenk, by the way, famously denied the Armenian Holocaust for a time.
Okay, so wait. This is exactly it, Narwhal. This is exactly it. Is it a roundabout way of talking about Hassan without talking about Hassan? Yeah, that's what it is. He keeps on saying Armenians. It's like the young Americans. Yeah, it could be. Would be more like if you named it the young capos. Yeah, there's a, like, he just, you know, he doesn't understand history as well as he thinks he does. And the connection between the Armenian genocide and the Young Turks is not as direct as he's making it out to be. He's the only Turk, and he's no longer young, true, yeah, kind of like Sonic Youth. That's a tick when he knows he's lying. Wait, what is? That's not a cough. That's a tick. Huh. Yeah, that is a good point. People have pointed out that Young Turks versus the Old Turd.
Or the Armenian genocide, what have you, for a time. He denied it. He might still deny it, frankly. He changed his opinion, his public opinion, after people pressed him hard enough. Like, dude, you're a monster. What are you doing? He might still well believe it. And you have the, you know, and she's up there talking about Zog, Zionist-occupied government. It's like, you sit next to your oppressor and you kiss the ring. What a disgrace. So yeah, I mean, I've got lots of emails from Armenian fans out there who are like, please talk about the Young Turks. The name, the fact that Anna is there as a useful tool for them to dispel criticism, to be like, oh, my best friend, look at my co-host is Armenian. That's what you are, Anna. You are a pin in his hat, a feather in his cap to say, hey, look, I've got my own Armenian pet. And that's what she is, you know. And the Young Turks has just turned into just like a I mean, let me show you some of the highlights without reading all of it. Let's see here. She says this one really rubbed me wrong. She says she's talking about the CEO of ADL. The arbiter of anti-Semitism is worried about Jewish people marrying non-Jews. You can be 1,000% in favor of interfaith and interracial marriage, but if you criticize Israel's genocide against the Palestinian people, you deserve to have your life.
AB's shrinking in his chair right now. Yeah, AB does speak up for like a second, and I started to think that maybe there's something that Ethan says that actually does get under AB's skin. And I thought maybe, you know, it might be like he might actually take him on, but it's only he only makes one comment. I don't know what happens after that.
Ruin.
Probably the rest of the crew like hold him back and let him know that if he continues, he's going to get fired.
He, on the other hand, can look down his nose at Jews who marry for love, regardless of religious or racial identity. Why do you make it seem like Jews are the only people that care if they marry in their religion or culture? That's literally everybody. Asian parents, Arab parents, Muslim parents, everybody wants their kids to marry inside of their religion
or what, Ethan?
Culture.
Or culture. And
it's not even a racial.
I thought he was going to say race
thing. It's more like it's a shared identity. It makes having a relationship easier. But if you're seeing an increase in Jewish people marrying outside of their culture, it's because there is an increasing tolerance amongst Jewish secular families to accept anyone. Both of my siblings married non-Jews. The fact that I married a Jew is completely random, frankly. It was never a thing that my family never cared about. There was never a thing like, oh, you need to marry a Jewish person or don't bring him home. So if anything, it proves the opposite. But somehow she turns this into some narrative about Jewish supremacy because I haven't seen the clip, but he's just acknowledging that there's an increase in inner.
You haven't seen the clip?
Well, I'm just reading the quote, and I'm reading her quote.
Yeah, he just pulled a mic from PA. Yeah, kind of.
The quote is, he laments a rise in interracial marriages. Then she says,
Why is she even talking about it?
Look down his nose at Jews who marry for love regardless of religious identity. Everybody does that. And then she says, let's see here. She goes, how can I be? She literally pulls this. Look. Nah, some of my favorite people are Jewish. Someone said, literally, no one gives a fuck if you criticize Israel. The moral high grounding when you're blatantly hating Jews is what's pathetic, Anna. The Jews did this, the Jews did that. But it's never the Muslims did this, the Muslims did that.
I gotta say, like, she's not doing a lot to beat the allegations with phrasing it as some of my favorite people are Jewish, right? That does kind of fall into like a... I mean, at this point, it's just a meme, right?
That's even though they're the ones killing people around the globe. Okay, I don't agree with that sentiment at the end. But her response is interesting to me. Nah, some of my favorite people are Jewish. Like, she knows what she's doing. Look at her. Here's a clip.
Oh, yeah, Redskin Nation says, oh, yeah, Redskin. I'm surprised they didn't go out there and do, like, some offensive, like, rain dance or something like that.
It's like saying, I'm not racist, some of my best friends are black, or my best friend is black.
You just did that. Nah, some of my favorite people are Jewish. You don't have to you don't have to use that to prove how racist you are.
This is when my depression got so much worse, is because it's like, people on the left understand
you mentioned
all the nuances. They're able of understanding nuances when it comes to racial conversations. But somehow when it comes to Jewish people, everything gets thrown out the door.
The tropes. They understand what their words mean. She understands who the Young Turks are. She goes, oh, an American political group? Why would we care about what the Young Turks means? Because Cenk is fucking an Armenian genocide-denying Turkish supremacist with ties to political parties in Turkey. You didn't include the first tweet that actually started this whole conversation, which was the one that really got me going at her.
Let me look for it.
She said, hey, Ethan, your low IQ attacks against our name is rich considering Israel doesn't recognize the Armenian genocide. Why the fuck do you care if Israel how are you going to what about it to Israel immediately? Why do you care if Israel recognized the Armenian genocide? They had nothing to do with it.
You, Ethan, as the prime minister of Israel, should know.
I don't support Israel, by the way. But even if I did, who cares if Israel recognized the Armenian genocide? I would care a lot more if my co-host recognized the Armenian genocide, the guy that you sit next to every day, whose family probably participated in it. Like, what the?
Again, wow. Ethan's not about attacking people's family, and yet here he is. And yet, chat, 100%, if you're thinking this is a way for him to talk about Hassan without talking about Hassan, if you think that, maybe he's like jerked that like Hassan ripcord, that fuck Hassan ripcord one too many times, and that a lot of his audience is just sick of it, right? And he's trying to get the juice of the drama with Hassan without seeming like he is milking it, right? You're right. You're definitely right.
What the fuck are you talking about, dope? So how about you shut the fuck up with your fake concern about Armenians, you 2-bit genocide supporting douchebag? Funny how you had no issue with the name of the show until people began rightfully criticizing Israel. Now, I learned a lot about you, about Hassan and their family. So, and I learned a lot about who the Young Turks are. from the many Armenians that have written to me and posted in our community and left comments about it. So yes, it's true that I didn't have an issue with it before I knew what it meant. You have to be brain dead to think that an American political show that barely even discusses Turkey is named after a Turkish political group. Are you fucking crazy? You have to be
How
crazy.
Are you really going to say that?
Meanwhile, you have to be crazy to think that the Young Turks, the name of the political party that did the genocide on your people.
Wait, Anna sits next to Hassan every day. You mean Jank? And he's still his co-host?
You have to be crazy to think that it's a reference to that. Meanwhile, I can't.
Ethan is burying himself more here than he's burying Anna. Yeah. All of Armenia wrote to Ethan. That's right.
Cannot believe Israel, who had nothing to do with the Armenian genocide, refused to acknowledge it. Like, why? Who else didn't acknowledge the Armenian genocide that had nothing to do with it? Did Japan? Did China? Did India? Did Russia? Did fucking Brazil? Who cares?
You don't know. Ask ChatGPT, Ethan. That's not what you do. Isn't that, but no, he's gotten so sloppy that he's just like, well, I don't know that these countries acknowledged the Armenian genocide, so I'm just going to assume that they didn't. So therefore, Israel, why concentrate on Israel? Like, this is the same thing of like, there's also shit going on in Sudan. There's also shit going on in the Congo, right? That so why are you so concerned with what's going on in Israel? Israel's just a small country.
Israel didn't even exist when that shit happened. Didn't even exist. What do you care? This is insane deflection. Is this the one? Let me see. Yes, this is it. This is the one that got me going. This is straight out of the American neo-Nazi anti-Semitic playbook. Our country is occupied and controlled by Israelis. This is very specific language. Refers to this reference popularized by David Duke and other American neo-Nazis, Zog, which is a slur, or Zios, against Jewish people, that says it's the Jews that control our government, not actually Americans. We are all, everything we do is just at the behest of the Jews, the Jewish puppeteers that control everything. Our country is occupied. Occupied? That's such a fucking fantastically insane image. Because occupation is like a military. Yeah, I'm gonna hit my inhaler, but at a certain point, there's it's hard to know where the Tourette's.
That's what I think. I don't think right now. I think right now that's a tick.
It's right? I hate when.
So yeah, there we go. So he's noticed that he's coughing more than normal. And people say, some people say they think that tick comes up when he's lying. Some people think that the tick comes up when he's talking about Hassan, or really, it's probably just like an emotional, like a response to the emotions that he's experiencing. And as much as he is an addict, to this kind of conflict, he's not immune from what all of us feel, which is a certain degree of anxiety with the with conflict, right? I'm not saying, I'm not pointing out his humanity as a way of excusing what he's doing. There is no excuse for that, but he's not the drama monster that he pretends to be or wants to be. Yeah, he's just a guy. Yeah, it's a weird thing to hold it in your mind at the same time that somebody doing something really horrible and despicable is, still at the end of the day, a human. And I say that not to excuse what he's doing or not to make you feel sorry for him, but maybe, so that people don't get, because it's easy to kind of like overestimate, like, like to buy into, like, what, remember that that clip that we watched where he's like, yeah, you think I'm coming for you? That's right, bitch, right? I don't know. That shit is actually kind of scary. Right? This guy that's just possessed by drama and that's gonna destroy, he's like, oh yeah, destroy 3 women's lives, sure thing. Just like flick of the it's just so easy. He makes it look like, he's just got no compassion whatsoever. And part of him, there is some kind of sublimated conscience there. Hila cheers the behavior on. You can understand the human element. And yeah, exactly. Archer Blue. That's the key. That's the key right there. It's incredibly aggressive and vitriolic. He was never like that before. Wait, Ethan was never like that.
Ticks interfere with my ability to talk. It's the worst, but I'm gonna hit this anyway. This one's for you, Anna. Look at this dork with an inhaler. Yeah, I'm gonna hit this hit.
That's right. Anna's making fun of your ticks. That's right. Look, Ethan, here's the deal. Everyone's making fun of your Tourette's. Everyone's attacking your family. Everybody called CPS, and everyone that disagrees with you sent the skulls. That's right. Anna, why don't you just accuse Anna of sending the skulls? Like, right? Why don't you just retcon that shit? He keeps on saying Anna. Yeah, he says everything wrong. Well, I say everything wrong too. I feel like I always mispronounce people's names too. I have tics. That's not what we're making fun of. No, but like the way he's talking, do you see what he's saying? He's like look at this. Look at this. He's like, I mean, he's self-conscious, which, yeah, I mean, that's relatable. Then he takes out his inhaler, and as he's doing it, he's like, oh, I know Anna's gonna make fun of me for it's like, no, she's not. I mean, she's a piece of shit, but she's not gonna be, she's not gonna, yeah, because you have Tourette's, Ethan. Yeah, no, she's not gonna fucking dunk on you for that.
Because occupation,
she might, if you were trans, maybe she would. I don't know.
Like a military. Yeah, I'm gonna hit my inhaler, but at a certain point, there's it's hard to know where the Tourette's.
I don't think right now. I think right now that's a tick.
Right? I hate when ticks interfere with my ability to talk. It's the worst, but I'm gonna hit this anyway. This one's for you, Anna. Look at this dork with an inhaler. Yeah, I'm gonna hit this inhaler in between toasting you.
Okay, chat, am I just stupid? Is toasting a thing? Does toasting mean, like, is he wrong or am I wrong? Like, I think that he means to say roasting, but maybe there's a thing called toasting. What does toasting someone? Yeah, because toasting someone means, like, toast to you. Yeah, to honor somebody, like toast, to Ethan. He's such a, like, anyway, Anyway, I was just trying to check because I don't want to be telling him he's using like language wrong. I think he means I think he is though. I think he means roasting, and yeah, because there is a slang use of toast where you're like, but it's not for what he's doing. It's for if you were like but I love you. Oh Anna, like if you're playfully mocking her rather than what you're doing, what you're trying to do here is roast her.
420. Doing huge bong rips. Hit me with that fucking percolator. 420 vape days. You know what it is.
Pitchforks Dragon. I'm just pissed this douchebag is making Anna look good. Yeah. And look, even her fucking even her pro-Palestinian rhetoric is kind of rhetoric that I don't think in the long run like helps the movement, right? If anything, it makes it easier for anti-Semites to hang out in the movement, and and when people don't notice this stuff anymore, right? I have unironically, chat, heard leftists use the term Zog, yeah, and not because they're anti-Semitic, but because they like hear that and like, yeah, it's kind of a Zionist occupational government. Yeah, that's right. What's wrong with that? Well, I'm not a Nazi, so right. And they'll fucking 10 toes down defend that shit, right? And it's like, oh my god, if you even realized, right? It's hard to it's hard to get a movement to gel, when people aren't sure if right, if the person to their left is like on their side out of anti-Semitism versus concern for Palestinians, right? Oh no, what's going on?
Where you going, man? Where you going? Where you at?
Don't let this guy rap.
I'm going strong.
I'm gonna pull his fucking license.
See you later. I'll see you then.
I don't want oral thrust.
Wait, wait, this is Ethan, isn't it? Wait, what is this? I think I've heard this. Wait, what is this?
Whatever that is. So this image of
Oh no, it's Dan Clancy. That's what it is. Sorry, chat. That's Dan Clancy. Dan Clancy was in a public space where there was a guy with a like a synth or something and a drum machine, and he was just laying down beats and stuff, and he was like, does anybody want the mic? Anybody want the mic? And Dan Clancy pops up and he's like, yes, and he's like, hey, it's Dan. Like, just like super cringe, super fucking cringe. But again, being a cringe lord like Dan Clancy is not as bad as being a fucking monster like Ethan Klein. A lot of people there's a lot of terms people use all the time with vile internet origins.
occupied. That's a military occupation. That's a forced occupation. This is our fight. They're using our money, our bombs to slaughter innocent people and steal lands.
He was being silly and engaging with, I mean, look, there's nothing, I mean, it's not good rap, but, whatever.
Then our media tells us it's the Muslim world hates us for our freedom. People believe that slop as they lose public services because the resources are being sent abroad. Israel gets military assistance. Okay, criticize that, but don't say that people are losing their fucking public services because Israel's getting old military equipment from the fucking United States, right? That's, again, part of this Zog anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. It's misinformed, it's wrong, and it's racist. The jig is up. You either love America or the country occupying it. Dude.
That's like America First language, right? She turns it back to being about loving your homeland. Oh my God. Okay, she didn't say homeland, but yeah, I mean, look, this shit, I don't know if she intends it. Like again, I can't read what's in Anna's heart, all right? But either she has been immersed with people that are anti-Semitic and doesn't realize it, or she herself is, and I'm not going to say anti-Semitic because I don't know that either, but she is courting an audience of anti-Semites. It's one or the other.
If you have a problem with AIPAC, talk about lobbying. Qatar spends a lot more money lobbying in America than AIPAC does, which, by the way, AIPAC is an American lobbying group of Jewish Americans. Mm-hmm. It's not an Israeli group. It doesn't have Israeli money. It's not even affiliated with Israel directly. It's Americans who support Israel. Now, Qatar spends significantly more money lobbying in America and in universities.
Wait, but that is actually Qatar. This is ridiculous, right? You might be able to look, he's okay. So yeah, that's true. AIPAC's an American lobbying organization. It's made by Americans who were it's run by Americans who are very much on the side of Israel, and but and then he brings up Qatar, what, funding like educational stuff? Ethan, Israel's paying American influencers, or at least offering free trips to them to come out to Israel and to try to do what he said that he wanted to do. Go to Israel, do content of it, and show people another side of Israel. Hey, look at this. There's like Israel, there's gay people here. Woo, right? It's a diverse place. Look at that. There's people of different races. Israel's not racist, right? No, you can't you can't just like reduce Israel's influence to to AIPAC, which I would agree is not like a direct influence, right? Yeah, is Qatar lobbying to support a genocide? To be fair, though, Dylan CIA Burns, though there have been countries in the regions that were, you know, like Saudi Arabia comes to mind as far as you know, bearing responsibility for the genocide in Yemen. But no, he's just trying to deflect. He's just trying to change the subject, right? While he is getting mad, accusing other people of deflecting and changing the subject, he is just like, the rules for him, not for other people.
These.
He cried when he lost 13K at poker and blamed Snark. Wait, I didn't see that, Rave. When did that happen? Also, I really did think you were saying Piker. I thought you were talking about Hassan there for a second. I thought you were saying he lost 13K audience members to Piker, and I was like, I don't know. Sounds about right.
But like somehow it's only the Jews. It's only AIPAC that gets called out for being a problem. It's AIPAC that's occupying. It's not just their. It's not no longer money in politics is influencing, or politicians are being bought, this and that. It's now you're being occupied by the Zionists. Despite,
and like, let me point something else out, chat. If AIPAC did not have willing accomplices in the form of the Democratic Party, they would not have such an influence over the, you know, mainly primaries of the Democratic Party.
Despite other countries spending more money lobbying. Anna, you are a fucking racist, bigoted pig who sits there and kisses.
Get Ethan Klein on Ethan Klein surrounded by 20 snarkers. Oh my God, chat. How sick would that be? How sick would that be? Chat, we got to make this happen. How do we make this happen? I'm Piker brained, apparently. Well, I mean, stupid sexy Hassan, he just kind of gets in your head. No, not as bad as Candace Owens was getting in my head earlier today, but yeah, no, seriously, I think this is like, this would be good. Yeah, Anna Kasparian surrounded by 20 trans people. There we go. Anna Kasparian, Charlie Kirk, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens are in talks about starting a new network. What? That sounds super fucking cursed. But yeah, just because you know, even assuming that Qatar was you know, supporting a genocide like Saudi Arabia did, like, that doesn't make what is going on in Israel any better. Ethan Klein surrounded by 20 actual comedians. Oh, Narwhal by nature. I like that idea. We got to pitch that. We got to pitch it. We got to make this happen, right? This would be so good. Now, I just want to see him surrounded by 20 snarkers, or like, and somehow Bad Empanada slips in. Somehow Bad. No, here's the deal, chat. We get Bad Empanada. All right. We hook him up with Mark Zuckerberg's stylist, right? So we take Bad Empanada, we give him the Edgar, you know, we do his hair in an Edgar. We get him a chain. We get him an oversized T-shirt, right? And he just comes out like, "Hello, Ethan." Oh my God, how bad what would Ethan do if he was in a surrounded and all of a sudden Bad Empanada, he realizes Bad Empanada has made it into the circle. Last celebrity poker match, he lost 13K, cried on camera, stormed out, and yelled at the commentary. The commentary people, fuck Snark. Oh, the people commenting over the poker. I think he lost to Jennifer Tilly, the goddess. Is he actually good at poker though? Is he pretty good at it? Because he does sometimes win. Ethan Klein surrounded by Bill Burr. Yeah, 20 Bill Burr clones. There we go.
This is the ring of your oppressor.
Anna surrounded by 20 unhoused people. No, she would leave. She would call security. Yeah, exactly. Miko's headphones. She'd call 911. She'd call Trump. Is what she'd do. She'd call.
How does that feel to be so worthless, hated by your own people, I'm telling you, the Armenians fucking despise her that have wrote me. They think the worst of her. And she is. She's a terrible person. She really is. She's also MAGA brained. She's kind of like embodied the worst of all possible political takes. She's become like an anti-Semitic, racist MAGA person. It's wild, man. And all I see is Cenk just losing his mind. He's always participating in these debates, like Piers Morgan, or he did one on the Jubilee. And he is so unstable. It's entertaining.
Yeah, he's kind of shaky, I think.
I'll tell you that. I love to see that guy squirm. He's just so unstable. But yeah, what a bunch of terrible people they are. Mm-hmm. And this is Hassan's family. These are the people that gave him basically his first and only job, right? His parents, his mom is a prolific property manager. The ultimate irony. His mom property manages commercial real estate. His dad founded a fucking reactionary, well, actually, I don't know if they're reactionary, but a political party in Turkey that negotiated with Hamas, who's also
yeah, he stayed pretty calm on Jubilee, true.
I don't know if he's a billionaire, but he is extraordinarily wealthy.
Of all the people to call unstable, call somebody unstable, right? That's...
I mean, I have a lot of questions about Hassan's family and how they...
Yeah, he's jobless. He's unemployed, Miku.
All interlink. And
Twitch is not a real job.
I don't think people have thoroughly or adequately explored that connection, you know. But anyway, yes, we are occupied by Zionists. A country of 10 million people in the Middle East, far away, is occupying the third largest, most powerful and rich nation in the world. It's incredible. The Jews, this small group of people, what they can accomplish. Really? Really? You would think Ghislaine Maxwell was Jewish. Get it? Because she's a great executive. She's not, though. She is? Ghislaine's Jewish? I don't think so. I know he is. Well, maybe that would explain then. Maybe that you know, confirms everything. Ghislaine? Her dad was? Okay, so we get it. So we get a technicality pass on that. You know, I'd love to just let.
Yeah, what's this deal with his mom? I thought his mom was like a professor. And anyway, yeah, he keeps on saying the shit about like Hassan's, you know, parents, like his dad. You know, he's implied that his dad is a billionaire. You know, I think in this one he admits that, you know, he's just like wealthy or something. But even the stuff that he's saying about like he's connecting his dad to a political party in Turkey that negotiated for Sinwar to be freed. I just don't try. Like, he's such a liar. I can't even take his word for it.
Let that set.
Oh, he's been doing Blood Quantum. Yeah. Like he did in that post earlier. His response to Anna Kasparian's, response to Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL was literally, yeah, you know, echoing the kind of Blood Quantum that Greenblatt was pushing.
A country of 6 million people across the globe is occupying America. Occupying, not just influencing. Occupying. They're the true controllers of America. Third most populous, richest country that ever existed. It's all being run by the Zionists over in Israel. Give me a break, you racist fuck. Disgusting. Anyway, I'm not going to read the whole... Oh, this is one of my other favorite things. You have to be brain dead to think that American political show that barely even discusses Turkey is named after a Turkish political group from a century ago. I'm sure that's what Rod Stewart also was doing when he named one of his most popular songs Young Turks.
Chat, there's a phrase in, you know, that you'll hear from a lot of the same demographic that might use the term Young Turk, and it's like off the reservation. right? Now, when you say that, that sounds very off, right? I don't know, and the origins of that term cannot be good. That being said, like a lot of fucking people used it during a time, and they weren't referencing like actual like First Nations people, right? So it's the same kind of thing. Even if the origins of the term are problematic, saying that that a term that is like a colloquial or even something like grandfather clause. Let's take grandfather clause. How many people in chat have used the phrase grandfather clause? Do you know what the origins of that term are? The origin of the term grandfather clause is racist. It's about enabling making gatekeeping voting in the South post Civil War. And a grandfather clause was a way that white people were able to, like, they give you these ridiculous tests. And if you were black and you didn't pass the test, you don't get to vote. If you were white and you didn't get to pass the test, or you couldn't, pay the poll tax, there was a grandfather clause that meant if your grandfather had voted, that you could also vote, right? You got past that hurdle by virtue of the grandfather clause, right? I mean, so that, fucking racist origin for that term, but not everybody that used the term grandfather clause was using it to imply that. Same thing with Young Turks, right? It's once you know like the history of it, and again, the Young Turks weren't as directly connected to the Armenian genocide as Ethan is representing but still, it's not something that I, would want to, if I was Turkish, it's not something that I would want to name my podcast or network. But yeah, he's just being so disingenuous, I guess, with Hassan's family, and that seems to be why he's attacking TYT now. And just wait until he gets to Hassan, and you're gonna see how fast and loose he's willing to play with the facts here.
Stewart is not a political pundit. He didn't choose to make a show about politics. He's a fucking musician. Okay? You know what that means. As an Armenian, as a Turk.
Yeah, she does. And she convinced Jink to stop being a Armenian genocide denialist, right? Again, my understanding is that if you went to school in Turkey, if you grew up in Turkey around the time that Jink did, you would, it was drilled into your head that the Armenian genocide didn't happen. It's not just Jink that was denying the Armenian genocide. It was the educational system that he was raised within, right? And Anna, for all the faults of Anna Kasparian, she was ostensibly part of his recognition that what he'd learned in school wasn't true, and that the Armenian genocide was in fact very real. The grandfather clause was construction based and pre the New World. Wait, sorry, what? Oh, was construction based? Pitchforks Dragon, are you denying that this was one way that somebody could get around being disqualified for the mechanisms that, like, look, there may have been another usage for that term, but
Turkish person, as someone who sits next to a Turkish person.
Is this the thing where somebody like reads a phrase that they've used without meaning any harm for it, and then they get offended by the fact that somebody's pointing out that the term like has a harmful origin? They're assuming that my intent is like the opposite of damning people that have used the grandfather clause. My intent is to point out that a lot of people use that term, very few of them grandfather clause. Why can't you say grandfather? All right, here we go. Maybe this will help. There we go. Don't say I never. Boom. Oh my god, it's too long of a link to post in chat. The origin of the term. Yeah, they might have gotten it from somewhere else, but yeah, my point is that people use it without recognizing the origin of the term, just like somebody, saying the phrase grandfather clause isn't normally going to be saying it out of racism. That somebody using the term young Turk, which meant an upstart, a new, young person, or an enfant terrible, right? A person that is young and, seen as being arrogant in their,
Someone sits on a show called The Young Turks. Are you seriously pointing to Rod Stewart as your out? Holy fuck, dude. Yeah, you know what? The Nazis were very industrial. They modernized Germany. They built highways. I mean, yeah, they did the Holocaust.
I'm getting this from I would put this link in, I tried to put this link in chat. Apparently the link is too big for YouTube to handle. But this is from the American College of Trust and Estate Council. The origin of these terms, grandfathered and grandfather clause, can be traced back to the late 19th century, early 20th century, primarily in the southern United States during the Reconstruction and subsequent Jim Crow eras. These clauses exempted individuals from meeting the new suffrage requirements, suffrage meaning the right to vote, if they or their ancestors had been eligible. So in other words, somebody whose ancestor was eligible to vote, whether or not they passed the test that was given, often, kind of skewed, often, black people got harder questions than white people. Then, if they could prove that their grandfather had the right to vote, then they could vote regardless of whether they passed the test and or paid the poll tax or whatever hurdle had been set up to keep black people from voting in the South.
Cost in the World War II and all that. But just because my show is called The Young Nazis, why do you think it's more about their industrial innovativeness, their go-getting attitude? Do you want me to read the lyrics to the whole song?
So listen, Pitchforks, I'm not saying you're wrong, because I honestly don't know. The question we're adjudicating here is basically, did the term grandfather clause originate from the clause that allowed white Americans in the South to not get caught on the hurdles that were put in an attempt to prevent black people from voting, right? Or does it refer to an older term, right? And so what I will say though is that if you are correct and you are sure about that, you might need to go and correct Wikipedia, because apparently Wikipedia has got the wrong, it's literally saying origin Southern United States, late 19th century legislation and constitutional amendments. So I don't,
communist invading radicals.
I'm not going to assume that you're wrong here, but if you're right, then Wikipedia is wrong, which they can be, which Wikipedia can be wrong. It's been known to happen.
Billy
I'm not a Rod Stewart fan, so I wasn't familiar with that song, and I was reading the lyrics. We might be able to glean some insight here. What do you think?
First, I fucking love this song.
Oh, you love this song?
Yeah.
I did read a bit about it.
Oh, wait. You love specifically how stairs were made was grandfather clause. Yeah. So that's true. You're talking about the more, but that sounds like a more modern usage of the term. Yeah, for something to be grandfathered in is what, right? Like if you, I don't know, I'm trying to think of, oh my God, chat, what is going on with the poll? I am seeing the lead change back and forth. Okay, it looks like Willie Mac, Mad at Hassan, Bad Empanada, or Quiman. versus Thailand versus U.S. Fast food. That is the way that U.S. fast food like McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and Taco Bell changed to appeal to the Thai palate, right? That's at 27%. Vanguard, Hassan defends his unk, is actually at 26%. Holy shit, chat. It is almost a three-way tie. It is almost a three-way tie. There's also a rather different old type of grandfather cause, perhaps more properly a grandfather principle, in which a government blots out transactions of the recent past, usually those of a predecessor government. The modern analog may be repudiating public debt, but the origin was Henry II's principle, preserved in many of his judgments. I'm sorry, if anybody's bored by this, I am so sorry. But if I was wrong, if I'm spreading wrong information, like, I want to know that, and let it be. I don't know. That's the most interesting thing in the world to me, is that I might be wrong about something. Let it be as it was on the day of my grandfather's death, a principle by which he repudiated all royal grants that had been made for the previous 19 years under King Stephen. Wait, is there okay, here we go. So yeah, if Pitchfork's Dragons is onto something with this, this might, let me see if I can get you the link for this. Right, this is the source. Is it gonna post though? What's going on? All right, come on. Okay, so yeah, that's a reference. That's a link to the Henry II. Oh wow, okay, grandfather clause from Jim Crow to civil rights, the Supreme Court, and the struggle for racial equality. Anyway, the point of what I was saying is that there is racism embedded in our language, right? When a country like the United States, when a society like ours is like, based on a, racist origin, then yeah, it sticks around in the language. And so it's possible for a person to pick up said language without recognizing its, like most people that use that term, saying something's grandfathered in, they're not thinking about the, they're not thinking about the poll tax. They're not thinking about, the post Civil War attempts to stop Black people from voting in the South. So yeah, the point is not that you should know everything about history, and if you use a term that's got a bad origin, then you're a bad person. The point is like kind of the opposite, right? Speaking to the Young Turks and the usage of it in the show that Cenk Uygur started and that Anna Kasparian signed on to joined. That being said, yeah, if you find out about what the Young Turks refers to, and you don't want to be associated with that, and your fucking podcast is named after it, then yeah, maybe that you should.
It was originally meant to be called Young Hearts, and he changed it last minute because he liked the sound of Young Turk, and he doesn't know. He doesn't know anything.
Yeah, I'm reading the lyrics, and it's about a guy named Billy and his pickup truck, and he got his ear pierced. I'm not seeing any connection to Turkish politics, I guess is my point.
It's not.
Yeah.
The Young Turks, when Cenk makes a news organization, when his relatives are in Turkish politics, when his relatives are Turkish bourgeoisie, aristocrats. Thank you, Dan. So nobody wants to help me. I'm out here drowning. Fighting for my life.
I know. I like.
But I was gonna say, Cenk actively talks today about genocide and about all this stuff.
While sitting next to an Armenian. What the?
How are they gonna say that it has nothing? They have no responsibility to change the name.
Here's my question for you, Anna. Do you think that an Armenian, an Assyrian, or a Greek person who is affected by the genocide perpetrated by the Young Turks thinks that it's as innocent, as harmless as you claim it to be? Do you think so? Well, I don't. And I've heard from them. So give me a fucking break. Why don't you deal with the problems in your own studio?
All of the Armenian people in California, they emailed me and they told me, we really hate Anna Kasparian. We consider her a traitor and a turncoat for working with the demon Ottoman Cenk Uygur in his... like, is that what we're getting here? Is that what I'm hearing?
Why don't you be dare to... You want, like, the entire...
Cenk Uygur and his obvious desire to reconstitute the caliphate and, like...
Middle East to overnight change.
It's a difficult thing to describe in chat, Pitchforks. It's kind of tricky to...
You can't even change the name of your fucking...
It's, like, easy to say it to somebody, but it's hard to, like, it's hard to write it down as an explanation.
To prove how against genocide you are. Let's start with the name of your show. If you're so anti-genocide.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start there, lady. Okay, and then let's talk about Israel. Dope. Fuck you. Anyway, that's my beef with... Somehow I'm now beefing with Hassan's entire extended family.
Wow.
Have some conviction.
I just think change the name, guys. Right? Call it the Turks. Call it our longing for the return of the Ottoman Empire and the return of Jews to dhimmi status. I know that's what she wants ultimately. She wants Jews to return to dhimmis, which is...
So yeah, that's the status where you have to... I mean, it's not as far as I understand, dhimmi status is if you're Christian or Jewish in the, under the Ottoman Empire, you had the same rights as anyone else, but you would have to pay a tax that the Muslims would not have to pay, and that is the jizra tax. I guess that's somebody. I guess there's multiple taxes or multiple names used for taxes.
The lower classmen in caliphates and the Ottoman Empire. That's where the Jews belong.
The Young Turks overthrew the Ottoman Empire.
Okay,
they were
fine.
like against the Ottomans.
But
nothing, Ethan. But nothing. You're wrong. Can you say that? Like, I don't know why he didn't just use ChatGPT like he always does.
Okay, very good. But did they? Well, let's see.
See the difference between somebody that's interested in knowing if they are wrong about something, maybe to the point where they're actually annoying other chatters. Jizya, I'm sorry, it's not the Jizra. What am I saying? Jizra. That sounds like this is the Riz. There was the Rizza and the Jizra and the ghost face. Anyway, chat. No, dhimmi is purely tax. But yeah, I don't know. He's overstating like the what dhimmi meant in even in the terms of the Ottoman Empire. The Young Turks were not proponents of the Ottoman Empire. They were actually the overthrowers of the Ottoman Empire. And then I think after a few more permutations, you get to the the version of Turkey that did the Armenian genocide. But yeah, no, if I'm wrong about something, I'm kind of curious about it. I want to know more about it rather than getting mad at Dan for being right. Jizra Klein? Oh no. Oh my god. Wait, are you at Turkey was the successor to the Ottomans under Ataturk? Yeah. What like he like again, he's missing like he's kind of yada-yadaing a few steps between the Young Turks and the Armenian genocide. And as Dan said, you know, they're not, the Young Turks were not Wu-Tang forever. Exactly. That's where we ended up, chat. That's where we ended up.
See what the Young Turks thought about Jews. Let's just see. That's actually a good question. What did the Young Turks political party think about Jews? Here we go.
Pretty sure Ethan just learned about the term "dimmy" from ChatGPT and never. Yeah. He's just. Well, I mean, that's what he does. He just like he'll type into. Wait. Did Bad Empanada expose him for this chat? I saw a video recently, or was it Red Bar? Maybe it was Red Bar. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Where they're talking about like how I think it was Red Bar actually. Let me see.
Really like that he wore the black lipstick today because it outlines how dick.
Oh no, it's this one. Yeah, it was Red Bar. I don't know anything about this show. So I don't.
For a guy like me who doesn't know what a GPU
I don't know whether it's good or bad, but
is. Can you help me out?
I mean, I'm also stupid.
But what is a GPU?
I'm not the person that.
It's Logan Paul.
Oh yeah, there we go. You're not even sure.
Change the subject, probably.
Let's ask ChatGPT, which, by the way, these dirtbags are all using. Ethan Klein is using ChatGPT for his entire existence. Every argument, every debate, everything he says where he wants to own someone or know what he's talking about, ChatGPT. He's got it on his laptop the entire show, and anytime he wants to show off or pretend that he knows about something, he will just ask ChatGPT to summarize, and then he will read it and use that. I've caught him a million times on Instagram. Ethan Klein schooling people using just.
I wonder what he means by "I've caught him a million times on Instagram."
ChatGPT. We even re-entered the commands to see. And
does he get? He doesn't get into like arguments on Insta. Isn't that the whole reason he goes to Instagram? Is that nobody can like respond? Like, you know what I mean? He can't get like proven wrong on Instagram. He can't get debunked on Instagram. Isn't that kind of why he uses it?
Gave us the same phrase that he was saying. He uses this against all these Palestinian people. He's using. I'm not kidding.
I know.
Logan is doing this too. They're all doing this. Tracy his lips are. He really looks like a Dick Tracy villain that eats walnuts with those lips. So ugly, so repulsive.
I don't know the Dick Tracy reference. Anybody get that?
And I hope his kids. I know the snarkers. Do you guys think kids are too far? We think his kids are stupid.
Okay. Wait, his kids are like what? Or his kids are like 3, right? What?
His kids can't talk. They're like Philip DeFranco's kids. They'll go, you could have all the candy bars you want, Teddy. Named after my wife's clothing brand. Very strange. Those kids are not going to be good kids. And they're Zionists. They're shills.
Shot. So we got the desk. We got rid of the podcast mic stands because we don't do that shit. That's for people talking about like Madagascarian.
Wait, we got rid of the podcast mic stands, but
anyway, I don't care about the JoJo Siwa clip. Let's get back to this. I don't know if we're gonna do bonus content. I don't know if we're gonna do the Trump thing. It's kind of 50-50 at the moment.
Yeah, they promoted.
We will do the Young Turks reply. How about that? We will cover Anna and Jink apparently have responded to Ethan, so we will take a look at that.
Ottomanism. They had the same kind of ethos, you know. So that's what that is. But anyway.
Wait, Joel.exa, you're saying he does an 8-hour show like twice a month and drops the N-word. Can you imagine if I did an 8-hour show twice a month and dropped the N? No, just kidding. I won't drop the N-word. For pure shock value, people glom onto him though because he says what just about anyone could about their fools. Wait, are we talking about the red bar guy? Is that who we're meaning? People do argue with him back in the DMs. You can reply to the stories. Oh, but it goes to DMs. Thank you for explaining that, Mikus. Because I don't, I really have not, I've not fucked with Instagram like at all. I'm really down on Meta products in general, but doesn't Ethan have videos of him talking about R-wording children and saying racial slurs against them? There was that video where he's talking very inappropriately about a 17-year-old. Is that what you mean? Jojo Siwa came out, then promptly went back in after being hit with a British accent. Wait, what? David from Red Bar? Okay. Mike David. Okay, that's what we're talking about.
You know. There's something that I don't think people understand about like the Israeli and the Jewish identity in modern day. There's like a piece of the puzzle that I think people...
Is this where Ethan gives us a history lesson, but that history lesson is based on like revision of the Nakba? Is that what are we in for a treat here, Chad? And by treat, I mean the exact opposite of a treat. Is that what we're doing?
Yes. And it's not a value judgment. It's just an explanation. After World War II, Jews all agreed, and somewhat of a pact amongst our
Jews all agreed. This is ahistorical. There have always been Jews that were, that were resistant, that were opposed to the idea of Israel, right? Some for even religious reasons, right? And he just said all Jews after World War II, they were like, nope, we got to have a homeland. That's what we learned from the Holocaust, is that we got to get ourselves our own homeland, right? Instead of having the homeland used as a pretext to genocide us, we should get one. We should do blood and soil ourselves. Ethan, that is fucking anti-Semitic. All right. That's fucked up. And it just like, I'm sorry, but like when you're speaking absolutes like that, you're pretty much guaranteed to be wrong. You are pretty much guaranteed to be wrong.
Ourselves, the diaspora everywhere, that we will no longer depend on the generosity of other countries to protect us.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We no longer depend on Arabs. We no longer depend on Europeans. Jews have been depending on other governments for thousands of years to...
Miku, thank you for catching me up on the Jojo Siwa drama. I've picked up a little bit of this, but I guess I didn't know everything.
Keep them safe, and they have continually failed them, and which culminated, obviously...
Yeah, here we go. Our Marcavius. Orthodox Jews have always been known... I've always known that when the Messiah comes, he will bring us the promised land. Since we are Jews, there is no Messiah. No longer religious myself, but people using the J card to do Zionist BS is annoying as fuck. Orthodox Jews have marched against Israel. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, like there are Jews in Israel, in fact, who were there before the Zionist project, right? Who actually do trace their that. Did Thailand ban weed again? They're trying to, Jerry, but they're doing it very slowly. Let's just say. So I don't know. Sometimes Thai politicians will float a trial balloon, right? They'll propose an idea before they actually go through with it, and whether they go through with it or not is anyone's guess.
The Holocaust. So Jews around the world, they looked around after that and the ashes of the Second World War and said, never again. That's what that means. It means never.
It's no. Oh my God. No, let me limit him. Let me not pause fuck him. Let's play out what he's got to say. I'm sorry. It's just so wrong.
Jews around the world, they looked around after that and the ashes of the Second World War and said, never again. That's what that means. It means never again will we allow ourselves to be put in this situation defenseless. Never again will we count on the grace of another country, another people, another culture to defend us.
So chat, this is kind of fucked up what he's saying here, right? And I'm not even sure if Ethan is aware of the origins of these ideas, but I am. So I did a little research last night on this. All right. So he's saying that the origin of never again was purely a Jewish thing, and it was about never letting yourselves be put in a vulnerable position like that, like you know, where you know you're subject to the whims of the German government, and you've got Nazis that are fomenting, blaming you for the backstab in World War II, in World War I, and associating you with the enemies of the state, mainly the USSR. Blaming you for the culture going in a way that they don't like. You're on it, Trinopilo. Ethan is a Kahanist, is what Trinopilo says. Now, like I said, I don't know if he is aware of the origins of what he's saying, but you're right. This is the book Never Again by Meir Kahan, right? The actual origin of Never Again, this is Kahanism that he's elucidating. I don't know if he realizes it or not. It was first used by liberated prisoners at Buchenwald to denounce fascism. The Never Again was allowing fascism to prosper. And then the Meir Kahan book, it was in 1971. And that's what Ethan's talking about, right? He's talking about the Meir Kahan, I would say, bastardization of the phrase, right? Never Again has a lot of power when it's used as a promise, right? The idea is, after having gone through what, and look, all kinds of prisoners, right? There were all kinds of prisoners of the Nazis that were put into concentration camps, disproportionately Jewish, yes. Disproportionately Jewish, but not solely Jewish. And the slogan was, used by liberated prisoners, like, as a statement about fascism, not a statement about, Jewish people not having a homeland or something like that, right? That's a later usage of it by Kahan.
The people, they made that decision then and there, and that was kind of where this is where the ethos of this whole like survival mentality comes from, right? And that's very much still how people feel. I know World War II was a long time ago, but that type of ethos, that's like a uniting.
The first use of the phrase "never again" in the context of the Holocaust was in April 1945. So there is a poem that precedes this about Masada and the fending off being under siege by the Romans. But in terms of the Holocaust, this was after the liberation of Buchenwald, where the liberated survivors displayed it in various languages on handmade signs. Yeah, this is the thing, is he's internalized, and look, I'm being very, I'm being very, I don't want to jump to conclusions about like Ethan, being a Kahanist, right? I think he could have picked this stuff up without realizing, that he's essentially, elucidating a fascist co-optation of what was a very powerful slogan and what should be a promise that we can all make to each other. Nobody should be subject to genocide.
Kind of essence of Jews everywhere, right? Is that I think that's why most Jews see Israel as an important.
Yeah, I am. You're right, Narwhal. I'm probably being too generous.
As important to the religion. 80% or 70% polled said they think Israel's important to being Jewish because it is that.
It's in the Bible. Yeah. It's in the Tanakh, right? It's important. That's not the same as like the Zionist project of Theodor Herzl and the project of Greater Israel is like, important, is crucial, is intrinsically tied to the Jewish identity. Those are two completely different things, Ethan. God damn. No, he's worse than a Zionist, George. He's a he is. This is Kahanism. Whether he realizes it or not, and I'm being generous with him, just like I was being generous with Anna. I don't know if Anna's trying to dog whistle occupational government, right? She didn't say, Zog or she said occupation. She used words like this, right? No, the JoJo thing is, someone close to the Kleins is pumping that crap. It could be Destiny for all we know. It could be Destiny as Dan. It could be as simple as that, right? Like, I don't want to necessarily like assume that Ethan Klein has got the complete works of Meir Khan on his bookshelf at home on his he keeps it on his nightstand, like Trump does with certain Hitlerian texts, right? But yeah, this is fucked.
It is symbolically that. It is it is the promise that Jews made after World War II to never again depend on another people's generosity to defend them. And so now there's lots to debate around all of the establishment of Israel, how it came to be, the Nakba and all that kinds of stuff. But I do think it's important to bear in mind the philosophy, the mentality, the survival instincts that kicked in after World War II that persist to this day. And I mean, of course, the Israelis feel that every day. They're surrounded by countries that have been continually in trying to war with them, destroy them. I mean, you know what happened one day before the Nakba? People, I don't know if people don't really talk about this. One day before the Nakba, people don't know. What happened one day before the Nakba?
Palestinians were living at home.
What?
I said Palestinians were living at home.
Well,
this is what I was talking about with AB. What happened? See, the thing is that the Nakba did not begin in 1948, right? In terms of the oppression of the Palestinian people, in terms of the violence against the Palestinian people. Huh. Oh my God, you have to have a, I found the Meir Kahan text from Internet Archive, but apparently you have to have have a free account. Some pages are omitted. God damn it. Like the whole fucking book is omitted without logging in, I guess. I just wanted to see if I could read like the intro or something. And compare it to what Ethan is saying, because I'm pretty sure that this is like straight out of that text, what he's saying here.
Sure.
Yep.
And you know what else happened? Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, all invaded Israel to kill everybody there. They unilaterally, there was 5 Arab countries that unilaterally unified.
What happened the day before was the, dissolution of the, of British Mandate Palestine and, God damn it. No, not French, English. I'm trying to find a copy of, I can only find like a review. I'm trying to find a copy of the, intro to Never Again. But yeah, Never Again program survival. A program for survival, right? Is what he's talking, this is what Ethan is saying. I can get the PDF if you have a link. Look up Internet Archive, Meir Kahan, spelled Meirkahane. Never Again, a program for survival, right? But yeah, no, this is exactly what Ethan is talking. You hear him saying this is like about survival, and just don't know what title or link to grab. It's he does not know. It's not that he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's that he's heard. He's getting this from a source that's unreliable. He's getting this from a source with a certain agenda, right? That cuts out, certain of the events leading up to, what he's talking about, like the, declaration of war, and all this, right? He's kind of acting like it was just like, and then, the day before, he's basically saying that you can understand the Nakba by the fact that Israel was attacked by 5 Arab nations right before, so they got attacked by 5 Arab nations, and then they did something kind of bad that, I don't sign off on the Nakba. I'm not a pro Nakba guy, but you can certainly understand that, if you're attacked, you're trying to move into your new home and you're attacked by 5 Arab nations. I mean, like, what are you, right? So not to excuse the Nakba, but here, let me excuse the Nakba, right? I don't know. I know, he's gotten, at the very least, chat, at the very least, this guy's brain is eaten up by Kahanist brainworms, right? This is a far-right figure, chat. I'm sorry. I probably should have mentioned who Meir Kahan is, all right? I probably should have given you a little bit of a... some of you in chat already know, but... Meir Kahan, born Martin David Kahan, was an American-born Israeli Orthodox ordained rabbi, writer, and ultra-nationalist politician, founder of the Israeli political party Kach, whose legacy continues to influence the militant and far-right political groups active today in Israel. So it's not just that chat that Ethan's doing like liberal Zionism here. He's kind of been inculcated with far-right Zionist ideas. Born in 1932 in Brooklyn. Okay, they're kind of burying the lead here. He was also he was convicted of multiple acts of terrorism in the United States and in Israel. Yeah, founded the Jewish Defense League, convicted of acts of domestic terrorism. He was a member of the Knesset. Was assassinated in 1990. In 1971, Kahan was sentenced to a suspended 5-year prison sentence and fined $5,000 for conspiring to manufacture explosives. In 1975, Kahan was arrested for leading an attack on the Soviet Union nation's mission and injuring 2 officers, but he was released after being given summonses for disorderly conduct. Later the same year, Kahan was accused of conspiring to kidnap a Soviet diplomat, bomb the Iraqi embassy in Washington, and ship arms abroad from Israel. He was convicted for violating his probation for the 1971 bombing conviction, sentenced 1 later to prison. However, he served most of this in a hotel, frequent unsupervised absences because of concession over provision of kosher food. 1984 interview with Washington Post. Kahan admitted the JDL bombed the Russian mission in New York, the Russian cultural mission here in Washington, and the Soviet trade offices. So yeah, then he immigrates to Israel, elected to the Knesset in 1984.
To invade Israel and kill every fucking person there or remove them forcibly. It was the invading fucking Arab armies that told the Palestinians to leave and come back when the war was over. They thought they were going to steamroll all the Jews living there. They didn't. They lost the war, and a lot of the Palestinians who were told to leave and come back never got to come back home. Now
oh shit! It's on my phone.
A lot of Palestinians did stay in Israel, and those people are citizens today. 2 million plus of them live in Israel proper, which I think is the correct term, not Greater Israel, which is something else. It's funny, there's a clip of Frogan even saying like
all right, Chad, I'm gonna have to bring up an Al Jazeera article here. The Nakba did not start and end in 1948, because I feel like I'm sorry if this is boring for some people, but what he's saying needs to be debunked. Here it is. Al Jazeera, the Nakba did not start or end in 1948. Key facts and figures of the ethnic cleansing of Palestine. Every year on May 15th, Palestinians around the world numbering 12.4 million mark the Nakba, or catastrophe, referring to the ethnic cleansing of Palestine and the near total destruction of Palestinian society in 1948. The Palestinian experience of dispossession and loss of the homeland is 69 years old this year. On that day, the state of Israel came into being, right? This was the end of British Mandate Palestine and the Declaration of Independence by the State of Israel. Their creation of Israel was a violent process that entailed the forced expulsions of hundreds and thousands of Palestinians from their homeland to establish a Jewish majority state as per the aspiration of the Zionist movement. Between 1947 and 1949, at least 750,000 Palestinians from a 1.9 million population were made refugees beyond the borders of the state. Zionist forces had taken more than 78% of historic Palestine, ethnically cleansed, and destroyed about 530 villages and cities. So what happened before the Nakba? This shit. Between 47 and 49, right? So this includes the Israeli Declaration of Independence, the formal beginning of that we the May 15th, 1948, right? But yeah, 47, you know, is when the displacement and the destruction of villages and cities and mass killing of Palestinians. Yes, more than 70 massacres through May 15th, 1948. Though May 14th, 1948 became the official day for commemorating the Nakba, armed Zionist groups had launched the process. So he's talking about Israel being attacked by some of its Arab neighbors as if they were just like, all right, cool, the British are out of there, let's get them. Let's get them. Let's be anti-Semitic, and you know, like they were doing that, like as if it was these Arab nations doing the ethnic cleansing, and not the, you know, settler colonial project itself, ethnically cleansing Palestinians. Right? This is a inversion of history, chat. This is, and I don't usually use these words because they're kind of associated with you know, this is historical revisionism. He's doing a revisionism, chat. In fact, by May 15th, but what I'm saying is, chat, he may have learned this as history, and it just never questioned it. Just like Jink didn't question the Armenian genocide until later in his life, right? Just like Jink was inculcated with the idea that this didn't really happen, or the you know, Turkey wasn't responsible for it, or whatever, you know, version of it he got, right? Ethan Klein has been inculcated with a revisionist version of history that obfuscates some very important facts in understanding the series of events that took place leading up to May 15th, 1948. By May 15th, half the total number of Palestinian refugees had already been forcefully expelled from their country. So what happened the day before the Nakba? More Nakba. That's what happened. Like, you know, the May 15th is marked as the day because it's the declaration of independence by Israel. It's the, you know, the cancellation of British mandate Palestine and the withdrawal, I guess, of the British forces, right? But when did Israel? There were like there was contingents that declared war on Britain. Maybe even before then too. I mean, he's leaving out a lot. And he's telling a misleading version of history that basically justifies the fucking Nakba, justifies the unjustifiable. Like this is kind of like Holocaust revisionism, what he's doing here. Israel continues to oppress and dispossess Palestinians today, albeit in a less explicit way than during the Nakba. What caused the Nakba? The roots of the Nakba stem from the emergence of Zionism, a political ideology in the late 19th century Eastern Europe. The ideology is based on the belief that Jews are a nation or race that deserve their own state or homeland. From 1882 onwards, thousands of Eastern European and Russian Jews began settling in Palestine, pushed by the anti-Semitic persecution and pogroms they were facing in the Russian Empire. And the appeal of Zionism, right? This is, you know, Theodor Herzl. Yeah, in 1896, Viennese journalist Theodor Herzl published a pamphlet that came to be seen as the ideological basis for Zionism, der Judenstaat, or the Jewish state in German. Herzl concluded that the remedy to centuries-old anti-Semitic sentiments and attacks in Europe was the creation of a Jewish state, the creation of a homeland, right? Though some of the movement's pioneers initially supported a Jewish state in places such as Uganda and Argentina, they eventually called for the building of a state in Palestine based on the biblical concept of the Holy Land, was the Holy Land, that the Holy Land was promised to the Jews by God. Yeah, I mean, this is the part of the Bible that's not backed up by like historical record, right? The Exodus into Egypt, the enslavement, and then the return and reconquest, the events of the book of Joshua, etc. If you look, archaeologists, upon looking at the place where the city of Jericho, for instance, would have stood, do not find burn layers that correspond with the biblical description of the burning of those cities. In fact, they do not even find chat. What do we know about Jericho? Any Bible? Any people grow up, go to Sunday school or learn about Jericho? Right? What do we know about Jericho? The walls come tumbling down. Chat. There were no walls in Jericho at the time. Archaeologists have looked this up. There weren't walls, right? This shit is like ahistorical, right? The Bible is, it's an important cultural book for many religions, but it is not a good book of history. It is not an accurate book of history, and we shouldn't expect it to be, right? These are ancient texts passed down, at first through an oral tradition, later, written on scrolls, and then, this is a whole, this is not where you should be looking for your accurate history from, right? The Bible is not going to give you an accurate record of history on a lot of ways. And it should be obvious. It should be obvious if you read the Bible that it is not written to try to be a definitive, coherent book of history, right? In the 1880s, the community of Palestinian Jews known as the Yishuv amounted to 3% of the total population, in contrast to the Zionist Jews who arrived in Palestine later. All right, so 3%. So the people that are the Jews that lived in Palestine in the 1880s are 3% of the total population, I guess, of Palestine at the time. In contrast to the Zionist Jews who would arrive in Palestine later, the original Yishuv did not aspire to build a modern Jewish state in Palestine. After the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire in 1914, the British occupied Palestine as part of the Sykes-Picot Treaty of 1916 between Britain and France to divvy up the Middle East, right? This is, France, you get Lebanon, Britain, you get Palestine, right? In 1917, before, et cetera, right? In 1917, before the start of the British Mandate, 1920 to 1947, the British issued the Balfour Declaration, promising to help the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, essentially vowing to give away a country that was not theirs to give. So after they took that over from the Ottomans, the new colonial power, the British, were the ones but behind were the power, like, enabling this establishment of a Jewish state in the region. The central to the pledge was Chaim Weizmann, a British-based Russian Zionist leader and chemist whose contributions to the British war effort during World War I made him well-connected in the upper echelons of the British government. Weizmann lobbied hard for more than 2 years with British former Prime Minister David Lloyd George and former Foreign Minister Arthur Balfour to publicly commit Britain to building a homeland for the Jews in Palestine. And remember, this is not because they cared about the Jewish people, right? These were very British centric reasons that this was done, mainly getting rid of their own Jewish population. By giving their support to Zionist goals in Palestine, the British hoped they could shore up support among significant Jewish populations in the US and Russia for the Allied effort in World War I. They also believed the Balfour Declaration would secure their control over Palestine after the war. From 1919 onward, Zionist immigration to Palestine facilitated by the British increased dramatically. Weizmann, who later became Israel's first president, was realizing the dream of making Palestine as Jewish as England is English. Right? God. Between 1922 and 1935, the Jewish population rose from 9% to nearly 27% of the total population, displacing tens of thousands of Palestinian tenants from their lands as Zionists bought land from absentee landlords. Leading Arab and Palestinian intellectuals. So this is like somebody bought your apartment from your landlord and then said, if you're Palestinian, you got to get out, right? This is, you're like, okay, new landlord, can I rent from you? No, you can't. You got to get out, right? I will only I'm only looking for Jewish tenants. It is essentially, so they're, kicked out of their homes. Leading Arab and Palestinian intellectuals openly warned against the motifs of the Zionist movement in the press as early as 1908. With the Nazi seizure of power in Germany between 33 and 36, 30,000 to 60,000 European Jews arrived on the shores of Palestine. In 1936, Palestinian Arabs launched a large-scale uprising against the British for their support for Zionist settler colonialism, known as the Arab Revolt. The British author, so 1936, right? Ethan's tracing this all back. First of all, he wants to trace it all back to October 7th, right? The world began on October 7th, 2023. Then, when you point out, well, there's this thing called the Nakba in 1948. He's like, all right, we'll trace it back to 1948. No, wrong. The 1936 was the beginning of the Palestinian resistance against the colonial power at that point being Britain for its support of pushing them out of the Zionist project of pushing them out of their homes. This was known as the Arab Revolt. The British authorities crushed the revolt, which lasted until 1939. Violently, they destroyed at least 2,000 Palestinian homes. So the Palestinians first crushed by the British, right? Their ability to fight, their ability to resist, probably even the number of individuals that could participate in such a fight vastly reduced, right? By the British themselves, right? Put 9,000 Palestinians in concentration camps and subjected them to violent interrogations, including torture, and deported 200 Palestinian nationalist leaders. At least 10% of the Palestinian male population, there we go, 10% of the Palestinian male population had been killed, wounded. So chat, if you want to make a metaphor to like a fight, like a person in a fight, right? This is Palestine getting the shit kicked out of them by Britain, laying on the ground bloody before the conflict with what would become the state of Israel even began, right? They're already hurting. Their ability to fight, their ability to resist is already vastly reduced. 10% of the male population killed, wounded, exiled, or imprisoned by the end of the revolt. British government worried about the eruptions of violence between Palestine and Palestinians and Zionists tried to curtail at several points immigration of European Jews, right? Zionist lobbyists in London overturned their efforts. In 1944, several Zionist armed groups declared war on Britain for trying to put limits on Jewish immigration to Palestine at the time when Jews were fleeing from the Holocaust. The Zionist paramilitary organizations launched a number of attacks against the British. So yeah, you've got a revolt against the British from the Palestinians. Then you've got a Zionist paramilitary attacking the British. And this is while the British are fighting World War II. Most notably, of which was the King David Hotel bombing in 1946, where the British administrative headquarters were housed. 91 people were killed in the attack. Early 1947, the British government announced it would be handing over the disaster it created in Palestine to the United Nations, right? This is when we get the Resolution 181 and the original partitioning. This is the thing that people like Ethan will always state, that they had a chance to have their own state, and they turned it down, right? Recommended the partition into Jewish and Arab states. At the time, Jews in Palestine constituted 1/3 of the population and owned at least less than 6% of the total land area. Under the UN partition, they were allowed They were allocated 55% of the land, encompassing many of the main cities with Palestinian Arab majorities and the important coastline between Haifa and Jaffa. The Arab state would be deprived of key agricultural lands and seaports, which led the Palestinians to reject the proposals, right? So they were offered a rotten deal. Remember this, chat, because this history will repeat itself, right? This kind of thing where they're offered a deal and then blamed for not taking it. And then when you look at the deal is fucking shit. The deal is garbage, which led to the Palestinians to reject the proposal. Shortly following the UN Resolution 181, war broke out between Palestinian Arabs and Zionist armed groups who, unlike the Palestinians, had gained extensive training. So Palestinian Arabs crushed by British forces in the Arab uprising, and whereas the Zionist armed groups trained by the British while fighting World War II. Zionist paramilitary groups launched a vicious process of ethnic cleansing in the form of large-scale attacks aimed at the mass expulsion of the Palestinians from their towns and villages to build a Jewish state, which culminated in the Nakba. While some Zionist thinkers claim that there's no proof of a systemic master plan for the expulsion of the Palestinians for the creation of a Jewish state, and that their dispossession was unintended result of war, the presence of the Palestinian Arab majority in what Zionist leaders envisioned as the future state meant the Nakba was inevitable. British occupation authorities had announced that they would be ending their mandate in Palestine on the eve of May 15th, 1948. 8 hours earlier, David Ben-Gurion, who became Israel's first prime minister, announced what Zionist leaders called a declaration of independence in Tel Aviv. The British mandate ended at midnight on May 15th. The Israeli state came into being. Palestinians commemorate their national tragedy of losing a homeland and in an unofficial way for decades. But in 1998, former president of the Palestinian Authority, Yasser Arafat, declared May 15th a national day of remembrance. On the 50th year since the Nakba, Israel celebrates this day as a day of independence. When did the process of displacement actually begin? The displacement of Palestinians from their lands by the Zionist project was already taking place under the British mandate. Mass displacement started when the UN partition plan was passed. Remember, that's Resolution 181. Let's go back to this. Passed in November 29th, 1947. So again, before the official observed beginning of the Nakba. In less than 6 months, from December 1947 to mid-May 1948, Zionist armed groups expelled about 40,000 Palestinians from 220 villages. Before May 15th, some of the most infamous massacres had already been committed. The Baltad al-Sheikh massacre on December 31st, 1947, killing up to 70 Palestinians. The Sasa massacre on February 14th, 1948, where 16 houses were blown up, 60 people lost their lives. Then the Deir Yassin massacre in April 9th, 1948, when about 110 Palestinian men, women, and children were slaughtered. As units of the Egyptian, Lebanese, Syrian, Jordanian, Iraqi armies invaded on May 15th. So now we're to what Ethan is talking about. Did you see, chat? All that history that I read you just now was before May 15th, was before the Nakba, as Ethan describes it. You know, we found out that the actual beginning of the Nakba was before the officially observed date, right? So he asked the question, what happened before the Nakba? The answer is all of that shit. But what he will tell you is that Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Iraq invaded. tried to do, we're like, let's get them, like right, like, oh, Britain's gone, get them, let's fucking get, like, right, and just like not even acknowledging all of that shit, all those massacres, all that displacement, all that trauma that had already gone on, that preceded the Arab-Israeli War, which stretched until March 1949. By the first half of 1949, at least 750,000 Palestinians in total were forcibly expelled or fled outside their homeland. Zionist forces had committed about 223 atrocities by 1949, including massacres, attacks such as bombings of homes, looting, destruction of property, and entire villages. Some 150,000 Palestinians remained in the area of Palestine that became part of the Israeli state. Of the 150, and this is what Ethan will describe as like these were the good ones. They didn't fight back, and so they became Arab Israelis, right? Of the 150,000, some 30 to 40,000 were internally displaced. So these are people that were, stayed in, remained in what would become the Israeli state, but had been forced out of their homes, right? So even amongst the, Arab Israelis, right, you've got displacement, and this is why shit like the right of return is such a important thing. This is why denying that right of return formally in the Oslo Accords was a poison pill, was a non-starter. Like the 750,000 who were displaced beyond the borders of the new state, Israel prohibited internally displaced Palestinians from returning to their homes. The years that followed the establishment of Israel, the state extended its systematic ethnic cleansing. Though armistice agreement had been signed with Egypt, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon by 1949, the newly founded Israeli army committed a number of additional massacres and campaigns of forced displacement. For example, in 1950, the remaining 2,500 Palestinian residents of the city of Majdal were forced into the Gaza Strip. About 2,000 inhabitants of Be'er al-Sabeh were expelled to the West Bank, and some 2,000 residents of two northern villages were driven into Syria. By the mid-1950s, the Palestinian population in Israel had became about 195,000 between 1948 and the mid-50s. Some 30,000 or 15% of the population were expelled outside of the borders of the new states, according to the Badil Refugee Rights Group. So anyway, sorry to have to go on the diatribe that I just went on. But I wanted you to know the real history that Ethan is absolutely obfuscating. Whether he realizes it or not, chat, this is the thing, is it's every chance that somebody explained to him, look, we don't know. Like, why does Ethan think this, right? Did he learn this like growing up? That's a possibility. Is he relying on like an outside source like Destiny and Dan, for this stuff? Did he ask ChatGPT to tell him, why to give him a rationale for justifying the Nakba? Like we don't know. But regardless, Ethan with his Hasbro is actually educating everyone else on how wrong he is. It's fucking precious. Well, look, it's only only if you pair his content, right? And chat, for those of you who are a little annoyed by the fact that I cover this motherfucker so much, this is why I cover him, right? He is lying to his audience about important historical facts that absolutely skew one's perception of what's going on in Palestine. So I don't know how much of my audience I lost going on, but the rest of you can give yourself a pat on the back for actually caring about more than just the drama slop. So you're real ones. Thank you, chat.
My family lost their house in the Nakba. They were told to leave They were told to leave and come back.
Yeah.
So, like, there's important fucking context there that explains at least, not to justify, not to moralize. Because the Jews did steal land. They did forcibly remove, banish, etc.
The crappy TV show called Jericho, I think I caught like one episode of that. I couldn't figure out what was going on.
Ethnically cleanse Israel after that. Absolutely. There was 800,000
low-key disparaging Chris Jericho.
People that were ethnic.
Wait, I always mix up. Is Chris Jericho, is he the one that did the fucked up shit, or was that Chris Benoit?
Cleansed in the wake of the war that happened there, right? But people, and again, there was a very significant event that happened one day before the Nakba that nobody fucking talks about. They want to say, oh, October 7th happened, everything happened way before October 7th. It's like, yeah, how far do you want to go back? You know? What day?
To the beginning, maybe? But no, he would be like, okay, well then let's get out the Bible and talk about Judea and Samaria, right? That's what he would do. It's like, okay, you want to go all the way back, right? Like, let's skip a couple thousand years and ignore the fact that some of those people, like, the displacement and the exodus, like, it was prompted by the putting down of the Roman occupation and the putting down of the revolts subsequently is vastly misstated. That is to say, chat, that many of the Palestinian, the Muslim Palestinian people that were displaced in the Nakba, could have very well been the ancestors of the people, of the Jewish people subjected to the occupation, right? So if you really want to go far back, that's what you got to understand. Sorry, Chad. It's just it was pissing me off.
Did the Nakba happen? Look at this. The Nakba, it takes place on May 15th.
1948.
Okay? What was that?
I was saying the date.
And then when was the Israeli War of Independence start? When did you say the Nakba was?
May 14th, 1948.
The Israeli War of Independence.
Yeah, Egyptian Exodus never happened. That's what I was just saying. The Reconquest never happened. Like, a lot of the stuff in the Bible is ahistorical, right? It's just
Independence, May 15th, 1948.
Wait, let me.
There's two sides to this story. Not moralizing, not justifying, but I am just saying.
Not justifying, just justifying.
That all their neighbors tried to invade and kill and remove.
So that's all that history I just read to you, Ethan shortens down by Israel was beset on all sides by evil Arab, states that wanted to crush the state in its infancy, right? That's what he wants to reduce that to. That fucking, oh my God, this makes me so mad.
Everybody there. So yeah, they're going to have some type of feeling about that, and that persists to this day because Israelis who were born there, 80% of the Israelis living there were born there. Their families, their parents, their grandparents fought in these wars. This is fresh. This isn't like the Holocaust happened so long ago. Oh, we're so sorry this thing happened to you. Time to shut up and move on. This is fresh. This is not a fucking healed wound.
Chad, it's a good thing that I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing that we're not hitting the sub. Well, I don't know. I shouldn't speak too soon, but we are running out of time for the sub goal. It doesn't look good. I'll be honest with you. It seems like people are really interested in this set of bonus content, though. 27% for Thailand versus U.S. fast food. 20. Oh my God, look at that! It's almost a three-way tie. It is like there's 1 point separating The Vanguard. Oh wait, no, wait a minute. It looks like Willie Mack's show might be pulling ahead. Willie Mack's show is ahead by 1 point over Thailand versus U.S. fast food. If I count in Shakespeare, who's the only person who put their money where their mouth was. Sorry, I said that in a weird way. Money where your mouth is, right? To add their donation to the topic of their choice, and that is maybe bearing some results in putting Willie Mack, Mad at Hassan, Bad Empanada, and Quimon in first place. It may not matter though, chat. We're at 46%, 44%. Sorry, I was overly optimistic there. We need to somehow magically get to 100% to even be able to watch one of these topics, let alone all three of the topics that are practically tied. Look at that. And Hassan reacts to Destiny on CNN as only 1 point below Vanguard. Hassan defends his uncle. Anyway, chat, I'm glad people are interested in the bonus content that I have to offer. Maybe one day we'll actually unlock it.
Okay, so everybody in the Middle East is it's getting fucked, right? It's horrible. There's war. There's conflict. There's ethnic cleansing. It's this continual shit show. And there's a genocide happening to Gazans. Just a horrific fucking development and what Netanyahu and they're all doing there. Dude, I'm ready. I'm ready to send Netanyahu to the... I'm ready to fucking... I don't know if I can say this, but... That guy should be... Right? Like, I'm right there with you guys. Let's put him on the...
Unfortunately, Netanyahu is only part of the problem. Unfortunately, what Netanyahu is enacting is a process that was set in motion, like almost 70 years ago. More than that, actually.
You think you're the only one? Have you seen all the protests in Israel?
Him and his...
Nobody in Israel supports what he's doing.
That's
Nobody.
the thing, too. It's pure social chaos. Like, Netanyahu wants to occupy the entire Gaza Strip. It's just chaos, right?
People have been on the street all day, every day. I mean, nobody supports what he's doing.
Just a quick correction. I'm seeing that people commemorate the Nakba on May 15th, but it started in 1947. That's what I'm saying.
Why do they commemorate it on May 15th?
This catastrophe runs
in chat because you watched this through me. Not that I'm offering my stream up as a market substitute for Ethan's, right? I would never do that. All right? If you want to watch Ethan lie to you and not be disabused of his revisionist idea of history, then yeah, go ahead and watch the Ethan H3 broadcast, okay? But if you want to know the fucking, if you were with me through this, right? If you did not tune out through that lengthy article that I just read, you understand exactly what AB is saying. AB is not going to get a chance, I'm guessing, to actually, put in to actually explain why why he's saying this started in 1947. I mean, we kind of know now that it started even before then, but in terms of you could say the violence that is associated with the Nakba started in 1947, but we the real story. So I would say that probably you're better off if what you want to do is to know the actual history watching me compared to Ethan.
Not sure why on that day.
That doesn't really
the
make
Nakba
sense.
was one
We know.
incident.
We know. Nope.
All at once.
Nope. Gotcha. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, Ethan. I don't think he's lying, chat. I think he's literally this ignorant, right? Anyway, I had a question about, is he doing, is he aware that he's repeating Kahanist talking points? Is he aware that he's doing historical revisionism? It doesn't sound like he is. It sounds like he literally just heard this shit heard a slanted, view of the history here and just took it for granted. Fuck.
And it happened on May 15th, like it said, 1948.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of the next stuff, which was the expulsion.
AB, you're right. But maybe you're not allowed to say it. Look at that. If you watched Ethan Klein, you thought that AB didn't know what he was talking about. AB was right. And we know why. And Ethan's audience is going to continue to suffer under that ignorance that he is spreading. That's so wild, Chad. It's like somebody that just doesn't know shit. Somebody that's got fucking Kahanis brainworms all crawling up inside his head, leading people to faulty conclusions about history.
So that's it. There's people want to look at this conflict like bad.
I'm sorry, AB. You need to fucking resign. He's doing you dirty. I mean, I'm not okay with a lot of shit that you've done. I do think that you have some culpability in this too, but you need to fucking resign. All right. You were right. Ethan was wrong. And he just made you look like a fucking idiot. AB, fucking quit your job. Do the right thing. I know. I'm sure it's hard. I'm sure it's hard as fuck to find a job in this industry, right? But you cannot continue to be a part of this. You just got used as a jobber. Chat, we're going back to the wrestling thing again, right? A jobber or a jabroni, if you are a fan of The Rock, is a wrestler who is paid to fucking lose. Like the Brooklyn Brawler is an example of this. This is like a wrestler without a following, without a compelling, theme around them that is just there to be like, oh, look, the Brooklyn Brawler is going to fight against, a wrestler you actually know and care about. And obviously they're going to fucking lose, right? That's what AB is. AB is being used as a fucking jabroni here. He just took the fall for Ethan Klein when he was right. AB was right. AB actually knows what he's talking about. Ethan does not. And he had to take the fall. This is fucked up.
Good. Now, what Netanyahu's doing at this point is obviously evil, right? There's no bad and good in this situation. But Hamas, also bad. Hamas, October 7th, also bad. There's this clip of Hassan where he's sitting there with that guy who's in every terrible...
I'm sorry, Ethan. Hamas is not a nation state. Hamas is a militant group of resistance. And there are different levels of expectations from a nation state versus a militant resistance group.
Clip, MNP or whatever. And he goes, why is Israel bombing Lebanon? And Hassan goes, because they're there.
For greater Israel. That's the,
Okay. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. I don't know where all that came from. I guess that's just for a special little monologue.
He thought he cooked. He really thought he cooked there. Instead, he got toasted by yours truly. I swear I thought jobber was a term invented by 39DAPH. I've heard that name before. Is that a streamer? So dumb. Thanks for teaching me. I'm teaching you wrestling history. No, chat. Look, I'm not a big wrestling fan, all right? If you ask me about, who was champion of the WWE or, anything like that, I might be able to answer some questions about, Glow, the gorgeous ladies from wrestling, right? But I don't really know that much about history or about wrestling history. What I do know, though, is this isn't just wrestling. This is carnival culture that this all comes from, and this is where Trump's fucking game comes from too, right? If you want to understand politics, modern politics, the reference point is kind of heels and baby faces, right? If you want to understand even media analysis, right? Especially in the commentary or adjacent space, right? It very much operates on, look, I always say Dylan Burns got one thing right. And that there's a serious application to wrestling terminology and phenomenology of what we're doing as Twitch streamers, as political Twitch streamers. Dylan Burns, I will stand 10 toes on the ground and say Dylan was right, and you can clip that and send it to his ass, right? Because he was really onto something there. He really was.
little rant for my good friend Anna.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I was talking about the Civil War, I guess. I'm reading more into it.
That's all right.
Maybe you don't have to apologize. You were fucking right.
Thank you very much. Do we now this good segue, actually relevant to the conflict at hand. Do we think Jenna Marbles will ever come back?
And with that, okay, so he covers the Trump story, the one that I wanted to cover today. I don't know if I'll be able to, but just look at where he brings Hassan in on this, right?
And they actually said 0 for the last 3 months. Nobody thought a thing like that was possible. And
dude, he's
when you
insane.
take a look at numbers, I just saw some charts. These are different cities throughout the world.
This is the best.
Red is okay. The red is
what? I didn't see red. I didn't even see red.
This part is my favorite Trump clip ever. Oh my fucking god.
It's so
good.
Yeah, meanwhile, pause it for a sec. Just recall for a moment what Hassan said about Kamala Harris. Just pull it back a little bit. Just drive it home.
Yeah.
Drive it back.
You want the new one or you want the...
Whatever you got. Whatever you got.
Hypothetical reality where Kamala Harris would not be as bad as Donald Trump.
So, chat, Ethan's talking about Trump's takeover of Washington, D.C., right? If you don't know, he issued an executive order. He took command of the Washington, D.C. police. He's ordering the National Guard into the city. He's doing another takeover. And with Washington, D.C., it's a lot easier because of the Washington, D.C. is not part of a state. There's provisions in the Home Rule Act, I guess, that allow Trump to do this stuff, right? So he's having a sort of like easier time of it in Washington, D.C. So now Ethan's bringing back a clip from Hassan talking about Kamala Harris. Listen to what this is.
Which we have no proof for.
Did I play the new one too?
Let's rewind.
One or you want the...
Whatever you got. Whatever you got.
Hypothetical reality where Kamala Harris would not be as bad as Donald Trump, which we have no proof for.
Did I play the new one too?
Democrats, if they were in charge right now, would be doing 100% the exact
Kamala would have absolutely.
What's wrong with this? Anybody want to anyone want to say it before I do? Anyone want to say what's wrong with what we're seeing here? Where's the distortion? Can anybody find the distortion for me? Kamala, and the Democrats would have done the same thing, is what Hassan's saying here. Ethan is playing a clip of Hassan saying that Kamala Harris and the Democrats would have been no better, right? When it comes to Trump taking over Washington, hindsight bias, it's kind of more than that. Hassan, yes, there you go, Denver. Hassan was talking about the Israel conflict. Yeah, correct, Rave. Context. Yeah, Archer Blue. Hassan is talking about Gaza. But if you're an H3 fan, you don't know that. You just assume that he's playing you assume, chat, if you're an H3 fan, that he meant like in total, no difference between having Kamala as president and Trump. That Hassan sat there during the election and said, "There's really no difference between the two. They're just as bad as one another." Basically that Hassan would have, would have said, "Sit out the election" or something like that, or worse, if you're an H3 fan, you're having your eyes pulled out and a hand shoved up your ass. And you're going to repeat this, well, Hassan's actually against the Democrats. Hassan said that the Democrats would be just as bad as the Republicans. You're getting a completely clip chimping. It's bad clip chimping. Chat, if Destiny did this shit, like his orbiters would call him out. He'd have the Willie Mack show and the Hutch would call him out. Well, actually, Destiny, I don't think that's quite what, right? Even Destiny's echo chamber was never this strong. But somehow Ethan is getting away with portraying Hassan as if he sees no difference between a Trump candidacy and a Kamala Harris candidacy. Then why did Hassan go to the Democratic National Convention and not the Republican National? Like, you know what I mean? I'm saying, like, it's just like, he's just assuming that nobody's going to look up the context and think that Hassan was saying, overall, there's absolutely no difference between these, like, as if Hassan's, like, political commentary over the election was that both candidates are bad. Both candidates are equally bad, right? Now, Hassan did say that in the context of Gaza. And look, we have no way of knowing otherwise, right? If Kamala Harris had a different plan in Gaza than Biden, she was holding those cards too close for us to see them, right?
One to one.
They 1-to-1.
Mistake. Anyone who tries to tell you that Kamala Harris would be different is a fucking delusional moron.
That's right. Remember, guys. Anyone that tells you Kamala is not as bad as Trump is delusional. This is a Jedi mind trick.
Do not come.
Kamala would have called.
Are you sure it's a Jedi mind trick? It looks like you were imitating Elon Musk again. I don't know what that. Do we need to roll that back? No, they literally changed TOS for Ethan, right? Traditionally on YouTube, doxing somebody was against terms of service. Because Ethan has done it so much, YouTube has basically rolled that back. At least that's what Bad Empanada is saying.
Moron.
That's right. Remember, guys. Anyone that tells you Kamala is not as bad as Trump is delusional. This is a Jedi mind trick.
Do not come.
Kamala would have called the National Guard on D.C. It would have happened.
What's the Jedi mind trick? Isn't it like more like that or something? It's like EMDR.
Just like it's unfolding now.
I'm a better looking person.
By the way, Anna Kasparian also famously did not vote for Kamala, proudly and famously.
Now, this is true, right? I think what he's saying about Anna Kasparian is actually true. I'm thinking that she led people to believe that she was going to be voting for Kamala in the run-up to the election, but then after the fact, she has now stated that she did not vote. I think that's actually, I think he's actually right when it comes to Anna Kasparian, but no, it's absolutely not true for Hassan. Hassan's statements about Kamala and the Democrats being exactly the same were specifically in regards to Palestine, right? Not even close. And anybody who watches even a little bit of Hassanabi, right, knows that is bullshit. But unfortunately, Ethan's audience gets Hassan exclusively through Ethan's war zone.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm
well
sure
done.
all the immigrants that are afraid to leave their house every day would agree.
Yeah. Privileged. It's extraordinarily privileged to be in that spot to be like, I'm not voting for Kamala.
Says the multi-millionaire. Says the multi-fucking millionaire.
Fuck everybody else.
Says the guy that literally thought that Hassan had an undocumented person working at his house and then started to talk about her on stream. Now, it turns out that we think that maybe Ethan ran into Hassan's mom or something and just didn't realize that's who it was. But yeah, the person that was basically willing to subject somebody to deportation because they made the mistake of working for Hassan.
Trans people, gay people, immigrants, poor people.
Trans people, says the person that won't bother to get trans people's pronouns right? Really?
It just so happens, luckily, that Hassan and Anna don't fall into any of those categories. How nice for them. Go on.
Red is okay.
Anyway, there you go, chat. That's a little look. You're getting bonus content, even though I have not been paid for bonus content. All right, I had to cover that because that was ridiculous. I ended up watching this just so, like I said, I stream kind of like, not first thing in the morning, but as soon as I can, get myself up, grab some caffeine, eat a little bit of food and stuff like that. because, you know, streaming like this is not easy, especially considering, oh my God, chat, we've done 6 hours already. We've done 6 hours. No wonder I'm not getting paid for the bonus content. I'm giving it for free. Anyway, chat, this is the, but yeah, I wake up like super early in the morning. Basically, I wake up right as Ethan and his, you know, if H3 is on, it's right as the H3 podcast is like ending, right? So I end up, you know, waking up like, you know, a little too early, grabbing the phone, putting my headphone in so I'm not bothering my neighbors, and then listening to you know, what he does, you know, like what he's saying. And yeah, this morning I put my headphone in and I was just like, oh, he's covering the Trump thing. Well, might as well like, you know, listen, because I need to know about this too, right? And I caught this Hassan bit. I caught this disingenuous, you know, decontextualized, like the worst kind of clip chimp. This is a kind of clip chimp you would not get away with as a debate bro. You would become a fucking meme. You would become a joke. You would become a lolcow if you did this. If you were like one of the, you know, debate streamers like, you know, Vosh, Destiny, Hans of Harkir, Demon Mama, Xanderhall era, right? If you're in that era, you would have gotten absolutely fucking cooked for this shit. And somehow, because the assholes who would normally, you know, cook you are like, well, we'll see, chat. We'll see if Quimon picks up on this. We'll see if, let's see, who else? Who else? Augie RFC, right? I think is a little bit critical of Ethan. Maybe we'll see how the commentary people, you know, roll with this. But I would say that there is some pay dirt out there for an enterprising drama slop, you know, commentary bro that wants to expose Ethan for being an absolute weasel and a liar. Just an absolute disingenuous scumbag. Here it is. It's all laid out for you. You go ahead and take this, roll with it, get the views for it, okay? I'll do my part. Speaking of my part, let's finish this up. I guess we're gonna finish this up. I don't know, chat. I was really hoping for some bonus content. I gotta admit, I'm really like kind of a little bit downhearted that we're not going to be able to cover. God damn, it's very close. Yeah, Willie Mack is ahead by 1% over Thailand versus U.S. fast food, and then it looks like Hassan reacts to Destiny is now in 3rd place. Yeah, things have changed. People have definitely been voted. People are very interested in this content. Unfortunately, the bonus content, unfortunately, does not look. I don't know. I don't want to be a doomer about it, right? But I will point out that I only have one more video to show you. So I'm gonna do that now. If by some miracle we hit 100, then I'll stick around for some bonus content as well. Like I said, this is the day that, you know, I was hoping to maybe cover more than one topic. It looks like we're going to get less than one topic instead, unfortunately. So that is sad. But it's not going to stop me from showing you, thanks to Natalie Marie. Everybody in chat, thank Natalie Marie. Natalie Marie, you wouldn't be seeing this if it wasn't for Natalie Marie, right? That she's the reason I have this clip in the first place, and the timestamp and everything. So thank you, Natalie Marie. You are awesome. This is Jink and Anna responding to Ethan Klein, and I guess we'll close it out with this.
Government, our country is occupied by the Israelis, and look, I get that some people like Ethan Klein get very chapped about that, but address the substance of what we're saying. Address the substance and explain.
You address the substance. Explain to me how our country is occupied by the Israelis. All right, you can criticize Israel without making it look, but without making it sound like a fucking puppet master, right? Without, you know what Anna's doing right here? She's basically she's basically you know, quasi exonerating the United States, right? Oh yeah, our government officials play no role in this. It's all AIPAC. It's all Israel doing you know, fucking Kabbalah on our politics, right? It's just like, what the fuck, Anna? No, you're surprised what people are calling you anti, but I don't know, chat. Look, this is either Anna being around a lot of anti-Semites and picking up their language, picking up their talking points, picking up their rhetoric, or it is Anna actually trying to play to that crowd. that she's that desperate for viewers after TYT has just absolutely crashed. She's that desperate for viewers that she's like, yeah, Nazi, sure. Let's get with the dog whistles. Let's get with the dog whistles, people. We got to fill up those seats. And I don't care if I fill up those seats with Nazi asses or what, right? So, but anyway.
When Ethan lost his mind.
I mean, he totally did. And go ahead and attack if you want. But how about you just try to attack the substance of the argument? Because he's, by the way.
I'm sorry, Anna, you didn't offer. You didn't offer much of an argument here. What you offered were fucking tropes. That rely, you got to imagine that Israel's got this fucking quasi-mystical power over the United States in order to make what you said make sense. You didn't back up you didn't back up your statements with anything. Because there is nothing to back up with. This is not a fucking, secret Israeli plot to trick and control the United States. This is the United States using Israel every bit as much as Israel's using the United States.
Under the assumption that no, the top foreign lobbyist in the country, the lobbyist that has spent the most, is associated with Qatar.
Okay, nonsense. I'll just address this real quick. I don't know anything about Ethan. All I know is he was for the two-state solution. That was a perfectly reasonable thing to be in favor of. And now apparently he's become a zealot who's finding anti-Semitism everywhere. Is anti-Semitism in the room with us, Ethan? Okay, yeah, I know. Everybody's against you, everybody. No, the fact that Israel is now murdering tens of thousands of children is not the problem. No. It's that people are irrationally hating Jewish people. Nobody said Jewish people. We said Israel. You guys are the idiots saying, no, this genocidal maniacs in Israel represent all Jews. No, they don't.
Cenk, you said Israel's occupying us. We don't need to be occupied in order to, assist the settler colonial project in Israel. That is what our politicians do by default. By default. As Joe Biden himself said, if Israel didn't exist, we would have to invent an unsinkable aircraft carrier in that region, right? We would have to invent it, right? It's
Don't stop saying that. You're doing great damage, okay? So anyways, Israel, you are not the boss of us. I know you are currently, and I know we are occupied, and now we all know how it feels to be a Palestinian. But you're not supposed to be the boss of us. And if you're trying to be the boss of us, by definition, you are not our ally. You are our enemy who is occupying us. And if you catch feelings over that.
Show me the occupation, Cenk. Show me anything. Anna didn't show shit. You didn't show shit. You know what you're relying on? If you don't, in the absence of evidence, you know what fills that vacuum? Bigotry, preconceptions about a group of people. And you don't get there. You don't get to oh yeah, that makes sense without some fucking anti-Semitic tropes, right? And now you're associating the Jewish people with Israel. Ethan Klein is too. Yeah, fucking both of you suck. Both of you fucking suck. Right? Ethan points out, Anna Kasparian at the very least playing to an anti-Semitic crowd. Anna points out Ethan, just basically excusing genocide. And you know what? You're both right. You're both right. You both fucking suck.
That and you don't catch feelings about 61,000 dead people at a minimum, 25,000 dead children, the starvation of children, the murder of journalists. You don't care about that, and you care about theoretical anti-Israel bias. You're a terrible person, and you are our enemy.
Okay, but I'm always honest with the audience. I'm anti-Israel. At this point, I wasn't before. At this point, I'm anti-Israel.
Yeah, congratulations, Ethan. You made her anti-Israel.
In favor of
Are you proud of yourself?
genocidal regime and
No,
government.
honestly, how can you be pro-Israel?
How could you be pro-Israel?
I
at
mean,
this
it's
point?
not like
How could you? Seriously.
It's not like we're permanently against the German people. The German people are human beings just like anyone else. But if in the middle of World War II you demanded that everyone be pro-Germany, that would be a maniacal position,
Absolutely, yeah.
right? As Stalin was murdering 25 million people, if you said you have to be the pro-Russian government right now, you'd be like, wait, why? Why? I mean, I love the Russian people, but why do I have to be in favor of the Russian government as they murder all these people? But Israel has a special exception to everything. But if you point it out, anti-Semite. Yeah, get the hell out of
No,
here.
in fact, I mean, look, if we're going to do moral judgments, I find it deeply immoral to be a supporter of Israel at this moment.
It is.
So
It's
it is
totally immoral.
Like, you can call me whatever you want. I look down at you.
I'll call you
if you're
something.
in favor of this.
No. We're done with maniacal Israeli supporters calling other people names.
Yeah,
we're
seriously.
done with that era. Now we're in the era where we call you names, okay? And the name we call you has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with you specifically. If you're still a supporter of this maniacal genocidal government, okay? You're a terrible person. You're a hateful person. You're a racist against Palestinians. You're a bigot against Muslims and Christians. And you think you're superior to all of us and that we owe you all of our money. No, you're a terrible person and a bigot and a racist.
And a supremacist.
Okay, you're a bloviating airbag, Jink. But yeah, a broken clock is right on some, like, the criticism of Ethan. He's not a very hard target. And again, chat, this is what TYT is doing. They are attempting a face turn. Right, in wrestling terminology, the baby face or face is the good guy, the heel is the villain or the bad guy, and people enact these roles as part of a long celebrated tradition known as kayfabe, which is carny speak for be fake. Right, it's kind of like Pig Latin. You invert the syllables and you turn be fake into kayfabe, right? So that the carnival attendants do not know what you were talking about, right? And then you set up this this whole act, this whole theater of good guys and bad guys, right? And when the bad guy wants to become a good guy, they find a worse guy and they beat up that worse guy, right? People hate this other wrestler worse than they hate the bad guy, and all of a sudden people start looking at the bad guy in another way. Oh well, actually, Stone Cold Steve Austin is actually pretty cool. Like, right? I thought he was a serial killer and stuff, but he beat up this other guy that I hate, and that's what TYT or that's what Ethan actually is attempting, right? Ethan is trying to do a face turn because he knows that people don't like TYT, but he's attacking them on the wrong issue. He knows that people don't like TYT. He doesn't seem to understand why people don't like TYT. And instead of attacking on any number of issues that they are grifting or worse on, he is attacking them on the one issue that, while I really, really hate Anna's rhetoric, I hate her, whether she's doing it because she's hanging out with far-right weirdos or whether she is trying to pull in far-right weirdos into her audience, right? She's adopting that, kind of occupational language, right? But in terms of, calling out Ethan, no, absolutely. He's, disingenuous bastard running cover for a genocide.
And a supremacist.
Yeah,
I'm not interested in white supremacy. I'm not interested in supremacy of any religion, race, or creed. We're Americans. Americans are supposed to be equal. We're supposed to fight for justice. And if some stupid Israeli supporter says, no, my people are superior to all of you, you must bow down. And if you don't, I'm gonna call all of you hateful. You are all anti-Semitic. Owe me more money. You owe me more money. Give me money. Give me 310 billion isn't enough. I haven't murdered enough Palestinians. I haven't occupied them enough. I'm sick of you occupying the Palestinians. You are not our ally. You are definitely our enemy. And if you ask me to love Israel in the middle of a genocide, my answer is hell no.
I guess I have to point out that Israel's not like stacking money. Israel's not becoming rich. Israel is spending the money and the military aid to, murder and ethnically cleanse Palestinians, right? Jinka's, again, unwittingly or hopefully unwittingly played into another trope there.
Exact opposite.
Preach. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, Pete Buttigieg, who I'm sure is considering a run for president in 2028, has some strong words for what's happening in Gaza. I'm kidding. They're not strong at all. So that and more coming up. Don't miss it.
Oh, thank you. Miku's headphones has actually has actually got me the opening to this is the Meir Kahan book, Never Again. And again, remember, this book was written in 1971. This is the Never Again that Ethan is talking about. This is an ahistorical revision of the phrase that became, came into prominence after the liberation of Buchenwald, right? Which was initially a statement of, we will never allow a Holocaust. We will never allow a genocide to happen again. We will learn the lessons. We will have solidarity. We will be there for each other. We will be there in defense of each other. And we will never let this fucking happen again, right? He turns this into the Jews can never be in a weakened place where they don't have a homeland. The Nazis were able to do this to us because they had a homeland and we didn't, and they were able to paint us as a obstacle to their, fucking 1,000-year Reich project, and dehumanize us and justify our erasure. Let's see if this strikes any similarities to the Ethan Klein. Ethan Klein's here. I don't know. Maybe we'll go back and find where he says "never again," because it was just a bastardization of what I think is a very important slogan. Okay. It starts around here.
There's like a piece of the puzzle that I think people miss. And it's not a value judgment. It's just an explanation. After World War II, Jews all agreed.
It's kind of weird that he uses the word explanation. That's the English translation of Hasbro, by the way, explanation.
And somewhat of a pact amongst ourselves, the diaspora everywhere, that we will no longer depend on the generosity of other countries to protect us.
Mm-hmm. We will no longer rely on the kindness of strangers.
We no longer depend on Arabs. We no longer depend on Europeans. Jews have been depending on other governments for thousands of years to keep them safe, and they have continually failed them, and which culminated, obviously, in the Holocaust. So Jews around the world, they looked around after that and the ashes of the Second World War and said, never again. That's what that means. It means never again will we allow ourselves.
Never again for ourselves, Ethan? That's so short-sighted. Never again for anyone. That has to be a promise written on our hearts, okay? For that to mean anything, for that to represent any sort of learning that humanity has done, that has to mean something for everyone.
To be put in this situation defenseless. Never again will we count on the grace of another country, another people, another culture.
So the lesson that you learned from that is not that we need solidarity, courage, and kindness. The lesson you learned is that we need strength. The lesson you learned, Ethan, you motherfucker, is that we need to be more like the Germans. Fuck you. Fuck you for bastardizing something so important. Let's see. I'm going to read you Kahanism now. Chat, are you ready for this? This is going to get worse. All right. This is Meir Kahan, a fucking actual terrorist. that wrote this in 1971, and like this is the version of Never Again that Ethan's talking about. Remember, I told you there's two versions: the original, or the version that it traces itself back actually to a poem from the 1920s, but came into common usage after Buchenwald as a statement against fascism and complacency with fascism, the banality of evil, and all that shit, right? And then Meyer Kahan co-opted that slogan never again in 1971, like some 30 or so years later, that he co-opts this, and this is I think where Ethan's understanding of the slogan comes from. We have seen mounds of corpses and visited the camps where they killed us. We have stood in the, and understand, chat, this is I'm not reading a good person with good ideas. I'm reading a fucking terrorist ideas, right? That Ethan was very much, I don't know if he realizes it, but he's very much channeling Kahana's thought in what he said today, right? We've seen the mounds of corpses and visited the camps where they killed us. We have stood in the now empty rooms where once Jews were driven to stand in their nakedness and breathe their last. We stood alone and not alone. By our side were ghosts of those who were no longer, whose blood was shed like water because Jewish blood was considered cheap. We saw their outstretched hands and looked into their burning and soul-searing eyes that peered into our very being and heard them say, never again, promise us, never again. The fulfillment of that promise, in fulfillment of that promise, the book, yeah. So I mean, like I too, see that as a promise, not an aspiration. But Kahan, his never again is about strength, and I think that our never again has to be about solidarity. I think he's wrong. I think he's bastardizing a very important historical sentiment that should not be for one people. It should be for all of us. You know what keeps us safe, chat? Each other. Our empathy for each other, not letting each other be dehumanized, not letting each other be scapegoating. That's our defense, right? This book is called Never Again, a Program for Survival. That's my program for survival, is each other. Right? And then we don't have to, we don't have to, claim our ethnic, we don't have to claim our ethno state, right? That's not what keeps us safe. In fact, I would argue that ethno states probably make the world a more dangerous place for everyone. Also, thank you, Miku, for finding this for me. May 13th, 1939, a ship sailed out of the German city of Hamburg. On board were 930 Jews sailing from their native land, leaving behind all they owned, turning their backs on a lifetime and a fatherland, gladly. It was the worst of times in the Third Reich as the madness of Adolf Hitler gained irrational momentum. So it's almost like a guy that thinks that the fatherland thing wasn't a problem. It was like, Hitler, that, and not realizing that this kind of shit, like fascists grow in nationalist soil. Gained irrational momentum. 6 years of Nazi rule had escalated into terror, concentration camps, beatings, degradations. 930 Jews were leaving the nightmare that had once been their homes. They were among the last Jews who were given the opportunity to leave the lands of the Aryans before the night. Yeah, I mean, like, one of the dedications is to the members of the Jewish Defense League, a terrorist group. As much as I would love to pour through this tome written by a literal terrorist, this is a bastardization of a hugely important human sentiment of self-defense, yeah, for all of us. I don't know how deep it's going to be buried, right? What I'm looking for is, like, his definition, what he means to what he means, what Kahan means when he says never again, which is, you know, I'm guessing would read very similarly to, you know, Ethan's description of it. But yeah, I guess we just have Ethan's description of it. Oh well, you know, and I don't want to minimize the Holocaust. All right, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to say the Holocaust happened to a whole bunch of different people, right? The you know, a vastly disproportionate number of Jews were swept up in the Holocaust. All right, and I'm not trying to, you know, I'm not trying to, you know, revise that historically into anything else. That is true, and that is important to point out. However, you know, in terms of never again, if it's going to mean anything, it's got to mean something for all of us. It cannot be, you know, it is a feeling so large that it cannot be contained in one people or one culture. Does that make sense? Rafe says, my great-grandfather was tortured by fascists. Never again means never again for anyone ever. Yes, yes, yes. That was drilled into me as a youth. OCR is when you can search. Oh, search it with PD, with Control F. I almost, I actually don't know if that would, I mean, guess I could search like never again, but I was raised to believe never again meant we will never allow fascism again. Yeah, exactly. It's about solidarity, chat, and solidarity has to involve us all. It has to cross cultural, religious, racial. It has to cross all boundaries, all right, for it to mean anything, for it to be an effective self-defense, for it to protect any of us. It has to protect all of us. Let me read an article. This is Meaning of Never Forget by Joshua M. Scharfstein. In the late 1930s, my great-grandmother left her native Austria to visit the United States for a few years. She never went home again. The Nazis killed her parents and siblings. They gassed her friends, relatives, and teachers. Everyone she cared about from her small town died, and the rest let it happen. She never went home again. May 1st is Yom HaShoah, the day when the world Jewish community mourn the slaughter of 6 million of their people at the hands of a nation possessed by hate. It's a day to remember, but it's also a day to remember the right context. The Holocaust, perhaps the most brutal expression of widespread race hatred and genocide in history, deserves a place apart from the contemporary political debate. When was this written? 89. Okay, 89. Okay, yeah. I mean, look, some people were invoking, you know, fascism when it came to 89. That would have been George H.W. Bush, not. Yeah, I mean, I could see why at the time you'd say, like right now. I don't know if it's that separate from contemporary political debate. Well, those are just the times we live in, right? Not only does the indiscriminate invocation of the Third Reich imagery trivialize the evil of the Holocaust, it justifies injustice and often represents slander. The most egregious misuse of the Holocaust analogy in comparison. Wait, is the comparison on any level of Jesse Jackson with Adolf Hitler? Wait, oh my God, the discourse was wild in 1989, apparently. Jesse Jackson ran for president in, what was it, was it 1984 or 1988? And you know, headed a group called the Rainbow Coalition. He was much maligned and by, you know, the media and the politicians of his time. And you know, kind of turned into a joke by the likes of Saturday Night Live. I was astonished to hear someone demonize Jackson in this manner several years ago. Since then, I've understood differing degrees associated. Okay. Oh yeah, he did have that quote. He did use like a slur. Was this during the Crown Heights incident? Since then, I've understood differing degrees of associations to be held by quite a few American Jews. Jackson called the Jews, and then there's a slur. He apologized, met with Yasser Arafat, criticized Jewish landlords, and did not explicitly repudiate the anti-Semitic Louis Farrakhan, although he did repudiate Farrakhan's anti-Semitic statements. Therefore, these people argue that Jackson can be compared to Hitler. So yeah, this seems to be an argument against the invocation of the Holocaust at somebody who, was, using a slur. I'm not sure, I'm not sure what the author's problem with Yasser Arafat, with Jackson meeting with Yasser Arafat was.